You're unmuted.
All right. Well, we'll call the meeting to order for July 22nd. Board of Commissioners, effective 9 a.m. And if we could, just do want to comment for the public's purpose that we are canceling this afternoon's study session. We had one item we're moving up to this morning's meeting. Roll call, please.
Davis,
Here.
not
Yeah, here.
Markey,
Here.
Nye,
Here.
Roloffs,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Craig,
Here.
all present.
Dave, if you would, on the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today seeking your wisdom and your guidance. Help us build the bonds as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us make wise choices best served.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, you had the agenda in advance of the meeting. Any additions, corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Sauer moves to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
Fine.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Minutes of July 8th. I would like to make one comment on that if I could. On page 2, under closed sessions at 9:25, I'd like for consideration amendment that says session to discuss written legal opinion and settlement with legal counsel. So we'd be adding written.
Big moves to approve the 7/8/25 minutes as amended.
Davis, second.
Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then we have closed session minutes. Thank you. You've had a chance to review it. I'd entertain a motion.
Big moves to approve the closed session minutes on 7/8/25.
9 seconds.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, our first public comment regarding items on the agenda. Step forward, please.
My name is Valerie Russi. I'm a resident, 4529 Crystal Drive, Beulah. I'm here to address a significant event that occurred in June on the water levels of Crystal Lake. To the point, I have 197 feet of frontage on Crystal Lake, and all 197 feet of it has been eroded. Some points 3 feet back from where the original shoreline was. It's happened over June 2021 and 22. I contacted the drain commissioner. He answered the phone and told me he would get me the June levels of the lake measurements. I never received those. I ended up coming into Caitlin and I FOIA'd it to get that information. And I also went to the county clerk's office to see what the court order is for the lake levels. I've lived here, I'm a permanent resident, year-round resident for 10 years. And I've never had damage like this. And I'm calling perhaps maybe to have an investigation done as to how we're doing this stuff. Staining the lake level. Because the damage is so extensive at my house. If it comes in any further, my deck will be falling into the lake. It's pretty serious. I would like actually the drain commissioner to come out and look at what's happened to the shoreline and see how I'm going to be able to remediate. Not sure. That's all. Thank you. I have photos. Who wants?
Any other additional public input? Just to remind the public, this is your opportunity to address us. We're not in a position where we can respond to any of your comments. Perhaps someone will follow up with you after the meeting. Do you have something you want to say?
Could I request that the photo be passed and returned to the commenter?
Certainly.
I got other photos, but I only became aware of your meeting yesterday, so I haven't had time. I got photos that I've taken, video that I've taken up the top of the, but like now, I have photos through the years, I take my phone, I pull them up there.
I'll close public comment if there's no other. And elected officials and department updates. Please.
Good morning, board. I trust everyone has the second quarterly report.
Or just for the record, could you state your?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bert Gale, your building official.
And yes, it's in our packet today.
Okay. So I guess we'll call it the second page, not the cover page. You'll see that we had 46 new residents. Addition remodels was 41. We had 23 accessory buildings. We had one new commercial permit, one commercial accessory building, and we have a category we call others, which is 25. And those others were 2 solar panel permits, 2 cell tower permits, 6 demolitions, and 15 foundation only permit. You'll see during the period that totaled 137. 118 electrical permits, 154 mechanical, 65 plumbing permits, and 28 soil erosion permits. So that was the number of permits that for the quarter, second quarter, excuse me. If we compare the second quarter numbers, last year for the second quarter, we had 138 permits, building permits, and this year we had 137. So pretty much the same for the second quarter, but if you compare so far for the calendar year, in 2024, we had 220 permits total, and so far in 2025, we've had 187. So for the first quarter, we were down a number of permits, but we're tracking pretty close now. So there's no way for me to give you an explanation why we were down the first quarter, but we were. So then the last page is, or the, excuse me, the next page is sort of a little bar graph showing that. So that's sort of my my synopsis, my report for the quarter, the second quarter. If anybody has any questions on that.
Questions for Bert?
I have just one, and it's like in Thompsonville where they're changing the water meters and Moore is doing the work. Each one of those is separate permit,
Each address.
each address. I think things are going well. I don't look at some of the folks out in the audience, but I think everything's working well again now. I think they figured out what their problems.
Good, good. I can tell you water meter projects, you're gonna have a few properties that are difficult to gain access to for a variety of reasons that we probably shouldn't talk about here, but that just seems to happen. We've had those water meter projects in other client communities, and it's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. Some folks are really happy to see you, and other folks would rather you never show up. So,
Thank you for your work. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything else?
Anything else you want to share with us, Bert?
I do. When I was here before, I think I introduced Nick Keck. And I was supposed to get with Katie as it relates to getting something for you guys to, officially make him your building official, and I didn't get that far, sorry. I'll make sure that that happens before the next time you see me. As well as a proposal for fee increase. I mentioned that. I have found myself to be incredibly busy in the last few months, but I'll make that happen.
Did you say a proposal for a fee increase?
Yes. It's been 9 years and we're still actually operating on the state's 2010 construction cost table.
Can we discuss that in the budget? Because I thought the building department had an adequate fund balance.
Yeah, we can add it to our discussion at later in the agenda. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions that anybody
just-
might have?
A couple times a year, I'll ask you this question. Turnaround time for inspections?
Typically, if you get a hold of us by 3:30 in the afternoon, you're on the next business day that we're doing the inspections.
Yeah.
Almost all inspections are happening the next day.
Good. All right. Thank you. Anything else for Bert?
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Bridget Hassig with Benzie Senior Resources. We just completed, we have two of our largest special events that are normally held during the summer. And we just got through our garage sale this past Saturday, which was the extent of emptying about an 8-car fleet garage out of 2 stories of things that have been accumulated over the years. But we raised about $2,500. And we had 5 tireless volunteers between the ages of 75 and 90 working every single day to get it done. So it was really successful. The next event that we have coming up is our Blueberry Dash, which is a 5K run or walk. And so just want to pass out the information on that. That'll be August 2nd. It's one of our biggest fundraisers, primarily from corporate sponsorship, but also family turnout. So we're really excited. And there's a dance party at the Cabbage Shed following that evening. So we're looking forward to having that. We are also in the process of getting the whole staff trained in CPR. So that will end this evening with our second training. So we're bringing our staff up to speed on that. And the other partnership that we are beginning to unfold is with Bacon and the Red Bag Program, which is where there is funding to be able to get additional food out to those that are completely homebound, unable to get out to a store, don't really have family support that can help them. And so we are talking with them about being able to expand that program that serves not only Benzie, but Manistee. And so we just had a meeting on that. So the hope is, I think I've shared with you before, food security is a priority, and also pushing out as much as we can to those that are homebound, particularly our home delivered meals clients, and be able to expand those services both in purpose and in food. So, any questions?
Where's the Blueberry Dash Ran?
I'm sorry?
Where is this run?
It's in downtown Frankfurt. I believe it's along the water. And the only reason why I say I believe is I haven't been this close to that event and haven't participated in it before. But I believe it is along the waterfront area because we contact the residents in advance.
Like the Port City run used
I
to be,
believe
start in
so.
Frankfurt, run to Alberta, and then back.
Yes, I will say 90% sure. Yes, we do have the route on the sign up. Anything else?
Other questions? Appreciate you being
Okay,
here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other department heads or, yes, please.
Morning, Bernard.
Hi, folks. For those who don't know, John Troop from the Benzie Conservation District. I'm here with just a quick, fairly informal update for you guys. It's the busy field season, where, as you can imagine, we plan and scheme all winter long and set ourselves up for as much as we think we can handle, and then we hold on for dear life all summer. So that's that's our mode right now. But I did want to come share a few highlights. We've had a great field season so far with our sort of usual suite of events. We've done river clean sweeps on the Betsy River and the Platte River, several stretches of each of those rivers, removing, discarded sandals and beer bottles and everything else that accidentally ends up in our waterways. We've done our macroinvertebrate sampling, so looking for insects in the streams, lake monitoring. We've participated in the Crystal Lake Walkabout. So lots and lots of events. So far this year, we've engaged with more than 600 folks, either directly in doing, hands-on conservation service, or often it's us sort of providing environmental education. So that's, I think, about our total from last year altogether. So we're feeling really excited about our progress so far this year. We've been successful with a couple of small grants so far this field season. Jody on our team got a grant from the Benzie Audubon Society that got us 10 binoculars, so that as we come out with, after school programs or kids field trips, we can actually bring them binoculars and we can look at birds and other kind of interesting stuff. Next on the list is waders. We've had a fleet of waders for folks, the same idea. Folks can get out in the water with us, but they're getting leaky. So if you got a funding source for waders, that's on the lookout for us. Bigger picture, we have ongoing work in the Platte River Watershed Protection Plan update. Ed Hoopterp and Scott Guest, frequent collaborators. They did the Betsy Crystal plan. They are updating the Platte River improvement or the Platte River Watershed Protection Plan. So stay tuned for updates on that. We'll have to restart that steering committee. That process is ongoing. Again, keeping an eye out for funding to complete that process. And then the bigger exciting arc of our work is our Watersheds Coalition. I've come and presented on that work. Rhonda's been a part of our Water Smart Land Use Committee, and I appreciated the ability to provide comment about Commissioner Liaison for that working group. Suffice to say, there is an incredible amount of excitement and momentum for our work on the Watersheds Coalition. Each of our lakes, we have more than 60 inland lakes in Benzie County, are unique, and they have their own challenges, but there are also common threads through each of our lakes and then beyond Benzie's borders as well. So our Watersheds Coalition includes folks from Grand Traverse, Leelanau, and Manistee counties. And to put it into context, for example, Benzie County is a leader in septic inspections. It was really exciting to hear Dan Thorell, I think a few months ago, describe that, we are at about 4% non-compliance with septic, and Leelanau, who's newer into the ordinance, was around 17%. So we are taking the approach that in this instance, we can take what we have and share that information to other counties that are just getting started or considering getting started. So we've got a pilot project with the Platte Lake Improvement Association, actually digging into all of these 40 to 50 page packets of previous septic inspection reports, learning which ones are old, learning where, actually, we don't know when this was last inspected, or maybe it never was, or they applied for a new one and never closed the loop on that. Pairing that with our algae data and shoreline health data to see the correlation and to get better predictive models on how much phosphorus are these septic systems and drain fields actually loading into our lakes. In that case, fortunately, we don't have the hatchery. The hatchery is a strong partner. But it was them back in the day that loaded a lot of phosphorus directly into the lake and the river. Now it's going to be all of our non-point source inputs into our lakes that we need to look out for. And so septics, you don't see them. And so this whole project is to increase the visibility of what's actually going on underground that's invisible, make that more visible so that folks, have more information, can make informed decisions about what we do on the land and how that impacts our water quality. So that's one small snippet of the work that we're doing on the Watersheds Coalition. I'm going to come talk more about a lot of different things with our Watersheds Coalition in subsequent meetings. We're talking things about sustainable land use planning. We're talking about a shared water quality database because you live on Crystal Lake, which I'm excited to hear photos. You, I would guess, probably don't know a whole lot of the fine detail as how much phosphorus, how many micrograms per liter of phosphorus are going on in there. What's the biodiversity of the lake like?
And we
What's
need
the
you at the
ecosystem
mic. I'm
like?
sorry,
Oh,
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just very effectively demonstrated that our Crystal Lake landowner doesn't really have access to that information. So not only do you not know what's happening on your own lake, the systems that are in place are completely siloed and different. So we can't really easily or effectively compare what's happening in Crystal Lake with what's happening on Platte Lake, with what's happening in Glen Lake and Lake Leelanau Lake Association. And again, all in the same vein of bringing an incredible amount of work together that all these lake associations are taking on, bringing it together so that in Northwest Lower Michigan, we have the strongest water quality protections in the world because we have some of the most incredible freshwater resources in the world. And right now they're at risk because we're missing some of these structures. So it's exciting. More to come. It's alarming, but I'll be here in subsequent meetings to share more about that work. That's the long and short of it for now. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for John? Just a couple if I could.
Yeah.
Commissioner Trigg and I were at the Crystal Lake Watershed meeting on Saturday. There was discussion regarding boat washes.
Mhm.
And I know that you just decided or just shared with us some concerns, but that seemed to be a pretty big focus for them. Boats bringing in. You guys try to hit those boat washes. Can you tell us how many you've been able to do this year, maybe compared to last year? And
I will share that data soon. I don't have that number at the ready. It's been similar to last year. And in that case, too, a lot of our work has been to support and elevate the Crystal Lake Watershed Association to do that work, and less so us doing it directly. I promise to share that the boat washing statistics either at your next meeting or very soon.
They just emphasize that more than once. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue, and our part of it, we've got a Michigan Invasive Species Grant right now. And again, a big part of the puzzle is we don't know what invasive species are in a lot of lakes and where these things are moving around too. And so again, later this year, I will share a presentation. We just got the preliminary presentation analyzing all of our boater movement data from 2018 to 2023, and we need to update it as we have continued to collect this data. And it really clearly shows, okay, Crystal Lake we know has zebra mussels, Eurasian water milfoil, and unfortunately we're fairly positive it's got quagga mussels. So we have those, but downstate, Bear Lake, Portage Lake even, we've got much more aggressive aquatic plants. European frogbit, hydrilla, I'm not exactly sure, but I know one or two of those, and those are some that are statewide concern. They're not here yet, but our boater movement data shows a really strong correlation to these downstate lakes to Crystal Lake, which is not a surprise. So that again has been our focus right now, is learning where are the threats? Where do we need to make sure, every boat is washed, where are the way stations, so to speak.
Just want to give you a heads up that you guys have been were called out a couple times. And so now you're aware of it. And if I could, John, I had sent out a request to your agency about a liaison.
Yeah.
From here. I didn't get a response from you.
I haven't forwarded it to you yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Good enough. Any other comments or questions?
I have one question.
Bob, please.
Any idea what the lifespan is once something attaches to a boat, they pull the boat out of the water and it's sitting in the backyard for a week or two or a month or?
Good question. It depends on the species, of course.
Understand.
But the common ones we're concerned about, zebra mussels, Eurasian water milfoil, we have, a lot of lakes around here, will be weeks. That's the real importance of clean, drain, and dry. That dry element's really critical.
They did tell us the other day, Bob, that it was 10 days.
That's what the watershed said, it
Yeah.
was 10 days.
Yep, that sounds like a right sort of rule of thumb, but it can be less, it can be more.
Thank you.
Good question. Anything else? Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, everyone.
Any other department head or elected official reports? If not, let's move into the finance report.
You do have an updated packet on your desk today, so the number will reflect a void that was made this morning.
Good morning, Kelly Long, County Treasurer. Bills from July 3rd through July 17th of 2025 in the amount of $506,658.92.
And that reflects the adjustment.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the
I'll
bills?
make the motion to pay the bills in the amount of $506,658.92.
That's Gary. Any support? Dave supports. Questions or comments? I do have one. Under ALS, the number was 655,800. I showed a sizable expense for consulting. I was wondering what that was.
Hold on.
Let's see if I can. Again, it's under ALS.
Yep, 210. Consulting. I don't see anything for,
Find it.
okay. Oh, contracted services billing? Is that what
Okay.
you're?
Yeah, what is that?
That is our billing agency. So we work with a third-party vendor for billing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? If not, roll call.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Ellie, do you have anything else for us today? Any additional questions or comments for? All right, thanks for being here. First old business. Katie, can I let you introduce that, please?
Absolutely. So in your packet, you will see an update regarding the Benzie County Parks and Rec Plan update that's going on right now. I've invited Sarah Kirk, who is our consultant working with the county and the Parks and Recreation Commission, to update our Parks and Rec Plan, which is currently expired. I've also included in the packet a one-pager that has a QR code. There is a survey out there right now that we encourage everyone to respond to. So I'll invite Sarah Kirk up to kind of go over the plan and then answer any questions that the Board of Commissioners may have.
Thank you. My name's Sarah Kirk. I'm the consultant that's helping the Parks Commission with the Recreation Plan update. So the project started in April. Right now, we're in the public participation phase. We started that in June, kicked off with free public events. Instead of having one public meeting, the Parks Commission decided to do free pop-up events around the county instead of one event. So we started that with Summerfest in Thompsonville, where we rolled out the public survey, and then went to Beulah Art Fair, and then also finished with the last event at the Farmers Market in Frankfurt. Not only did we have the survey that we were pushing there, but we also did collected data on the 4 specific parks that the county manages. So got a lot of good data just from people walking by and had a list of specific questions that they answered. So we have that data too. And the next step will be to wrap up public survey. The idea was to wrap that up July 28th by the next Parks Commission meeting. And then the draft report would then be created and completed by the September 22nd Parks Commission meeting. And then to stay on the timeline, to get this adopted by the end of the year, the draft report would then be released to the public at that September meeting for at least the minimum 30 days. And then have a public hearing scheduled sometime in November-ish. And then have that, after the public hearing, then the final step would then be to bring it back before this body and have it adopted no later than January 2026, so that it be uploaded for the DNR by February. So that's kind of where we're at with it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
You had the report in front of us. Would you have a comment or question?
I do. So what does it mean to the master plan to have people respond to this survey? And if they do hit that QR code, are they spending 45 minutes? Are they spending?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's not a short survey. It probably takes about 8 to 10 minutes for people to really get into it and fill it out. None of the questions are required. So if people want to, if you just want to respond to railroad point questions, they're all, there's some overall questions, and then there's park specific, because there's Railroad Point, Point Betsy, Betsy Valley Trail, and then Zeta Price Park, which we're trying to get some specific feedback on. So it takes about 8 minutes. It's on the website too, the county's website. You can get, there's a project website for this too that has the, created a new map, a parks map as well. So that's all on the project website. If you haven't checked it out, it's on there. Did I answer everything?
I think so.
Could I comment on that though? Sir, I took it took me about 15 minutes
Okay.
and there were required fields.
Yeah, there are some. Yes.
Okay. I thought I heard you say there weren't any.
Yeah, not all of them are, but yes, there are some that are required.
And so for folks who aren't familiar with master plans, having a vision of what you want your parks and recreation spaces to be helps with the grant processes in the future. Is that
Yeah,
right?
That's the part I didn't answer your
Okay.
question. So yes, we're gathering this feedback because the whole idea at the end of this, we're creating an action plan for the Parks and Recreation Commission to do over the next 5 years. And that action plan is created by feedback that we get from everybody. So there's in it right now, it's a little, it's with the Benzonia Township Park and Recreation Plan right now. So there's some interlapping things. So part of this is taking everything out. So it's just county specific now. So that's going to be part of it. So getting the feedback to make that happen and kind of sort out the goals and objectives that were in there. Those come directly from people's feedback. So that's what I'll be looking at and kind of recrafting those, getting those in front of the Parks Commission so that they're all in agreement. And then we dial that down to the specific action plans that they can knock off over the next 5 years. And then if it's appropriate, go after funding. So that's why it's so important to get feedback from the public.
The other thing that I should note too is Benzie County isn't eligible for specific grants through the state level for parks without this plan in place. So an example is right now our plan is currently expired and the Friends of Betsy Valley Trail wanted to apply for a grant for a portion of the trail down towards Thompsonville. We couldn't be the applicant sponsor because our plan is expired. Thankfully, the Thompsonville area has an active plan, so we were able to be the grant sponsor for that grant specifically. So it's really important that we have this in place because if we're going to be pursuing grant dollars at the state level for our parks and trails, we have to have this plan in place.
How many respondents have you had to the survey? Do you know?
We have just over 80 right now.
Just over 80.
Yeah, I really wanted a goal to have at least 100.
Sure.
So
respond.
yeah, we'll love to have everybody in this room fill it out.
So I have a sense that Rhonda was asking some leading questions on purpose. The 15 minutes, by the way, is probably has a lot to do with me versus
That's what I was thinking.
actually taking that long. But if there's a way that we can get more people to respond, let us know because you're running out of time.
Sure, yeah. No, I think it's just like letting people know about it and I'll be doing another social media push this week too. I find just in my experience, even if you have a survey up for a month, a lot of people wait till the end. So now that they see that it's ending, I hope that we'll see a surge.
But when you first put it out, I couldn't get onto your survey. Just so you know.
Okay,
Now, I was able to recently, but I had to pen it out for a while because it says survey wasn't available.
Hmm.
And that probably goes back a month ago or so.
I hope that that's resolved because I haven't heard anybody else say that. So I hope.
Well, it is now, but
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah,
when it first was made available,
sure.
again, it could be user error, okay?
So just a reminder to everyone in the public, www.benzieco.gov. It's right on the homepage under latest news. It says Benzie County Parks and Recreation Plan Update Survey Input Needed. So if you click on that box, you can follow the links to the survey and respond.
Well, in fact, if you, in that packet, that flyer we have,
The QR code.
all you all you gotta do is click on the
sir.
Look at you getting techie.
Wife did it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
That's all I had for you today. If you don't have any other questions.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I was just gonna say, you know, Katie, highlighted that. I was gonna ask the question, so if I don't have the QR code in front of me, where do I go? And so I go to the Benzie County website.
Yep, benzieco.gov. We have our banner and then there's the latest news section and it's a big block right there.
I'd be anxious to find out how many respondents you get because that you need as much input as you can get.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say the pop-up events were cool. We got different information, a little bit different than the questions we asked on the survey, more specific to the park. So I felt that those pop-up events we really got some cool data on like specific parks. So I thought that was good too.
Now, as you might guess, as a commissioner, I would comment on this, but the questions regarding the public's willingness to have a millage for this, I'd be keenly interested to see what that response is.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yeah, it'll be fun to share.
I do want to acknowledge too that it's traditional to have the public come to you for input. And I just really want to commend Sarah for taking the initiative to go to the places where the people are. I think that's very refreshing to see your different approach.
It's fun. All right.
Thank you for
Mayor.
being here today. If there's nothing else on that, I think we're going to discuss investment income. Kelly, we've asked for this more than once. I know that Commissioner Sauer has certainly asked for it in the past, so I appreciate you being fully transparent on these things.
Yeah, no problem. Yep, I'll make sure you get it quarterly going forward. So this is the first time I could send it out and you guys should have gotten it probably a couple weeks ago. Is there any questions on it?
Why don't we have all our money in Michigan class?
Because we need to be diversified.
Gary, do you have any questions?
Speaking of Michigan class, has that gone down? Or is it?
It's actually stabilizing. It went up, it went from 4.37 back up to 4.41.
Yeah.
So it's not doing bad. And going forward, I just signed up
Oh,
for a Huntington investment portal, which is going to
Still
give us about the same. It's like Michigan class. It's liquid and it's going to give us about the same rates. So we could continue to stay diversified as a county.
It's nice to see that we're making some money on the investments and be able to do other things that the community doesn't have to pay for, I guess, is how I'm looking at this. This helps our bottom line and I appreciate all the work and
No problem.
really nice to see. All I gotta do is spend my time figuring it out. Yeah. Nice to see, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, for so many years, we were getting a 0.5% on our money.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, when the interest rates changed, that gave us the opportunity. But one of the things that, and this is helpful for me, is I've been concerned about how we forecast our revenues when we do the budget time.
Correct.
As you know, if we're short, where somebody's getting cut, and then if we had more revenues than we thought we were gonna have, we could have fulfilled that request. And not only with this, Kelly, but a change that I've noticed is your full transparency on everything that's going on in your office. I appreciate your willingness to not just force us to ask it, but you're volunteering that information.
No problem.
Any questions or comments regarding the interest income? What are you forecasting for the budget again?
I was doing about 3%,
3%.
which
Is
is,
that an increase from the original submission budget?
I don't think so. I think last year we're up a little bit. So we're down a little bit this year. Just, I try to keep on board. I've got 3 different investment people that send me reports monthly or quarterly. So I read up on it as much as I can and try to stay on top of it. And that's why I decided to be a little bit more diversified and go with Huntington Bank and do that investment portal. We just opened that up this past week, or last week, I should say, and just continue going forward from there. I'm learning different things. So
So this past,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, please.
Kelly, when did we open account with Michigan Class? Do you know?
we've had it for a while. I want to say 10 years ago, maybe. We've had
And
it
just
for
for
quite
the
a bit.
public's benefit, it's only certain entities that can hold their.
Only
money with-
governmental.
Only governmental,
Yep.
correct? Okay.
Any governmental entity can be in it.
So this past fiscal year, you probably have averaged between 4 and 4.5%.
Yes. Yes.
For Michigan class.
For Michigan Class, I mean, you can see some of the other ones are down. When we first opened up the sweep account, we were at 3%. We're down to 2.4 now. But it's been stable. It's been staying that way for the last several months. Honor Bank has, if you have, I want to say, can't remember the minimum, but we did switch up 3 of our accounts in the last year from a regular savings account up to a money market account, so we could earn more interest rate that way. We still have a couple of them on that we can't. We don't have enough money flowing through them, but we're trying to stay on top. And of course, our basic accounts, our payable accounts and payroll accounts, we have to maintain what we have, unfortunately, but it averages out in the end to be between the 2 and 3% rate.
And do you have limited transactions on the money market accounts?
We do not. We did for, we don't, let me rephrase that. We did for our road commission account, but we've since fixed that. Our other accounts don't transfer as often. So yes, there is a 6 limit for the bigger business accounts. Yes. And depending on,
That's an IRS standard
yes.
for transfers.
Right. We only have a handful of those. Most of them we don't do many transfers in. Health Department, Road Commission is the biggest ones.
Well, let's do everything we can to maximize that. I know you have some concerns about having all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
There's probably less risk than what we think there is. But
Right.
we rely on you to look for the
Right.
opportunities.
Well, I think what we have now is real good. We're pretty diversified. What you have in front, I mean, the only other thing you don't have in front of you is the 2 broker accounts we have through Hilltop, and those are more of a gain and loss than interest. But we've been doing good there. We've got some gain. I'll try to report those on a quarterly basis if I
They probably
can.
pay dividend, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
As long as there's no loss, obviously. But yes.
Well,
I
Actually, you
mean,
could
they
have a
do
loss in
to an
market
extent. If
values.
we have a loss, it turns itself around, but it tends to go, it's doing okay right now.
good.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there's no other old business, Katie, you want to address the next item for new business?
Absolutely. So the next item in your packet is regarding the designated assessor opt-out for the local townships in Benzie County. Brianne is here to kind of go over what that means. a few years ago, I think just before I came to Benzie County, you opted into the designated assessor program. And you appointed Polly Cairns at the time to be the designated assessor for Benzie County. But now we're in a situation where we could opt out of that because of the staffing we have in place and, you know, those sorts of things. So I'll let Brianne kind of explain what it means to opt out versus being opted in as the designated assessor.
Right. So, I guess to go over opting out, it would be the fact that the only difference I would see is that you wouldn't know specifically the person who would then step in. Also, the rates aren't defined like they were in our last contract with Poly. I feel like that would be the only difference if the state was to appoint someone should we need a designated assessor. And so I guess really it is, I want to emphasize the fact of when you would need a designated assessor. So every 5 years, a township has to go through a PA 660 audit. It used to be known as the AMAR. And then that would establish if they're compliant or not. And so if a unit is found to be non-compliant, usually they go through a corrective action plan. Then they can either pass or not. If they do not, that's when a designated assessor would actually come into play. So it takes a lot to get there. And I feel like a lot of our units are in good standing, and I don't think it would ever get that far. I'm pretty confident in them. So do you have any questions?
So some of the municipalities that I visit have already opted out. Does that make any difference here?
So we would actually need the majority of the unit to agree to the interlocal agreement. And so to opt out, yes. So I actually went and approached all of our units, and at this point, I do have a majority. I'm still waiting on signatures from Blaine and Platt, but I have signatures from other.
They opted out.
Yeah, I got the minutes, but I didn't get the signed page yet.
Yeah, so that's why the townships had it on their agenda. They have to agree to opt out for us to then opt out. And so
Okay.
we've been waiting on those townships to take their action before bringing it forward to you.
Yep.
Other questions or comments?
I will say that this is, so we have paid Polly a very small amount of money to be the designated assessor of record. So this does save a tiny bit of money by doing it this way.
Just two observations. One is your signature pages have Dave's on there. You'll have to change his.
Yeah.
Ben Zeitz.
So I actually kind of had talked with Katie about that. I didn't know if it had to be as of when it passed because Dave, you was supervisor when they actually approved it.
Okay.
Did you
So-
sign it at the time? So if he's already signed it, it can stay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And I did notice in the townships that I'm most familiar with,
Mhm.
for a while, there was some confusion about what are they doing?
Yeah.
Apparently that got, including Platt Township.
Yeah.
Apparently that got all settled.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually when I initially reached out to the units, I got calls right away and in some townships I didn't hear from, but anytime they called me and I explained it, it was pretty straightforward. And pretty much cleared everything up. So
Very good.
yeah.
If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to accept the recommendation.
Now I moves that the Board of Commissioners authorizes an interlocal agreement with the townships to opt out of the appointment of a designated assessor and authorizes the chair and clerk to sign.
Markey will support.
Again, other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
We don't have it again.
Katie?
No, she has the signatures. So the next item in your packet is regarding additional opioid settlement. So as you've probably heard, it's kind of quieted down recently, but as you've may have heard, as we're going through at the class action level, they're continuously settling additional smaller subsidiary opioid providers in the nation. And so we've been approached by the opioid implementation administrators to join in on additional pending settlements. The caveat with these settlements is if the participating municipalities, if they don't have a certain number join in on the pending settlement, then the settlement goes away. And so what I have in front of you today is to take action to participate in the additional nationwide settlements that are pending right now. I can't tell you how much that's going to pay the county because those numbers aren't completely public yet, because we don't know how many municipalities are going to actually join in on the pending settlements. And so that's what's in front of you today. I did include the settlement overview, which was provided to me by the administrator of the opioid class action lawsuit. So you can see that the additional subsidiary providers, Alvogen, Amneal, I've never heard of most of them, Hikma, Indivior, these are all smaller providers, providers of opioids who they're pending settlement with. You've seen the benefits of the settlement dollars we've received to date. We've got them into the community. We've impacted the students and other such within our community. So obviously it doesn't cost anything for Benzie County to join these settlements. The dollars go to the attorneys and the state before they come to the county. So I'm recommending to join these settlements to get additional dollars back into Benzie County, to then put into the community at your discretion.
Please.
Yeah, several months ago, AG Dana Nessel was here and she was talking specifically about the opioid funding and said that there is a page on the web that talks about what the payouts are. And the benefit of that, if I remember correctly, is they can go up, but they'll never go down. They
Correct.
are guaranteed funding
Yes.
over the duration of this time frame, and that still stands. So this is the opportunity for those payouts to increase, but we won't there isn't the opportunity to decrease, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the end result number is, it stays the same or goes up depending on the additional settlements that come through. It doesn't go down. The payment rhythm is the thing that could change depending on the agreement. As they're settling these agreements, they all have their own tweaks and nuances in these settlements. As you can imagine, Janssen & Janssen is much different than Purdue, who's much different than these smaller CVS and Walmart and such, because there's much bigger players who have, stronger negotiating power in a sense. And so some of the smaller subsidiary settlements, they don't have an 18-year timeline. They may pay the whole settlement right up front because it's a lot smaller of a settlement than it is with those larger ones like Purdue. So the timing is different for the money, but the total dollar amount stays, excuse me, stays the same or goes up.
So if one of the smaller ones did settle, made their payment, would they disperse that over the 18 years or would they
They just give it all to us now.
immediately?
Just dependent, because so one of the bigger ones, Janssen & Janssen or Purdue, I can't remember off the top of my head. They have the option to pay annually for 18 years, or they could pay lump sums like every 5 years. And they started doing that. So you'll, in the general ledger, you can see where there's 1 year we got, this amount of money for this settlement, but then the next year it was a larger chunk. Well, that was because it was a 5-year payment.
Yeah, some of them are paying out one time,
Mhm.
others have a schedule.
Yep.
I guess I do have one more question.
Okay.
With the rules that go with using that funding, do you see the opportunity for any more flexibility on that down the road? Just because 18 years is a long time.
Yeah, so the smaller ones actually have less flexibility than the bigger ones because they're smaller amounts of money. But I don't see the overarching use of those dollars changing. I haven't heard anything like that. The idea is to get this into the community, to impact the community and the prevention, education, and remediation of opioid addiction. I don't see that whole mantra changing. These smaller ones, though, they're a little stricter in the sense of with the large ones, you can utilize a certain percentage for non-opioid related uses. It's a very small percentage, like 12%. But with these smaller ones, 100% of it needs to go to opioid remediation and education.
Okay.
So that's the nuance difference mostly. But I don't see it broadening to the sense at this day and age.
My question would be more specific about, say, what Central Wellness has done with their opioid health home. They've changed it to a substance use health home because the drugs of choice change over time.
Yep.
And so you would like to see the money used to help people, even if it's so.
Yeah, it's when you go through that Exhibit E, I mean, you can get pretty creative in how you impact your community with those dollars. And it does touch on the alcohol and those other, drugs of choice. And you'll remember when we approved the funding for the Human Services Collaborative, the training focused around alcohol, tobacco, and opioids. Well, as long as you can tie into that those dollars could be utilized for that. And so they're really, while it's a huge list of items and it seems daunting in the sense it's very specific, it really does have a lot of opportunity to make it work within the dollars.
Very good. Thank you.
In contrast to that, though, we had one request for a recovery home
Mm-hmm.
that emphasized that it was for alcohol rehabilitation, and we were not able to consider that. So there are certainly limits.
Yep. There has to be a tie. And that was very specific to alcohol, and there wasn't the tie that we could make. And unfortunately, there was no follow-up from that applicant to work through that process. And that's why it never came back to you.
I think they were having some issues with the neighbors agreeing to have that there.
I think they still are.
So yesterday I was in Ross Commons representing this group with the Northern Michigan County Associations. That's 35 counties belong to that out of the 83. This was quite a discussion we had. It appeared as if everybody was going to be signing on to it. Not much reason that you wouldn't. It again continues to impress me that we're probably much further ahead in terms of getting our money out than other communities. Some have still not decided exactly how they're using that money.
That's
And
correct.
Katie, as I'm sure you're well aware, MAC has said, look, it will provide you with any type of assistance. And I would guess that you've reached out to them when you've needed to. So
Yep, Amy Delinky is at the at MAC. She left for a minute to be on the National Task Force for Opioids, but she's back at MAC doing what she is really good at, which is focusing on the opioid settlement dollars.
So this is something that's being considered, and it looks like it's getting a lot of support.
Good.
If there's no other questions, you have a motion in front of you for consideration.
Big moves that the Board of Commissioners elects to participate in the nationwide settlement Rubis reference number CL 1766143 and authorizes the county administrator to sign necessary documentation.
Davis, a second.
Any other comments or questions? We'll do a roll call, please.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Katie?
Great. So the next item in your packet is it's multiple facets. And so as you're aware, there's been various conversation related to the MDT devices that the county purchased years ago and that are utilized by the local fire and EMS agencies outside of Benzie County operations. These devices are nearing their time of when they should be replaced. And through various conversations I've had with Corey Ellis and others, it's became very apparent that the local jurisdictions are utilizing these devices, sometimes in instances more than fire and EMS. And so we believe it would make sense to give those computers officially to those agencies so that if there is another use for them after they're replaced, they have that right to do that. They don't have to give them back to the county. We're also under the assumption that there may be a small trade-in value for those devices towards the new one, if that's what they so choose to do. So we're trying to give them that flexibility by declaring these devices surplus and transferring their ownership to the agencies. So really they can do what they would like with those devices if it's use them for another purpose or potentially trade them in towards the new devices. And through those conversations, there was a request from the Fire Chiefs Association or the fire chiefs to help support the purchase of those new devices that are going to be needed later this fall, winter time. As you know, Microsoft kind of controls us in the sense of they will tell us what operating system is going to be allowed to be used and supported after certain points of the year. And so as a county, as personal consumers of Microsoft, they're no longer supporting versions prior to Windows 11 come this fall, winter. So we have to move these devices for security and network purposes. The idea is that we're able to, I want to say I'm recommending that we do support the fire agencies in this future of support buying these new devices. We can't afford to purchase the entire device. We just don't have the funding for that. And we're in the middle of budgeting, you know that. But I want to at least give a gesture in the sense of helping them purchase these devices. We were part of the conversation years ago when they were purchased initially. They did have a small part in that where they helped to pay for the docking stations and such at that time. So this is the idea of trying to work with them to move forward, keep the conversation open, try to help them a little bit in the purchase of these new devices, and then just working forward into the future as to what we're doing going forward for devices, and timing and those sorts of things.
So Rhonda, Katie and I met, and well, we did cover this as one of the topics regarding offering a gesture of $500. You want to comment on that at all, Rhonda?
I think Katie's explained it very well. We want to be good partners. I don't think we anticipated when the gesture was made, funding these down the road, but this is a transition for the departments that they didn't anticipate. And we're going to be partners in our community for a long time. And so we at least wanted to make a gesture to help with that and hope that it's received well.
And we need to be clear that this is not a suggestion that we could do this each and every time, but each one would be visited as a separate occurrence.
That's correct. So, I mean, we don't know what 10 years down the road is going to look like in Benzie County. So this is a one-time allocation to these agencies to assist with the replacement of the current devices, as well as giving them devices they have in their hands now so that they're theirs and they can do what fits for their operations. What happens when we have to replace these devices again in the future? I don't know what we're going to, I don't know where the conversation will be in that timeline.
And do you want to remind us, there are other trailing operating expenses, that reoccurring expenses that go with this, that the county's paying for? Can you remind us again of what that is and approximate dollars?
I'll lead to Corey for approximate dollar amounts, but we still have to connect these devices to our network and maintain the security of these devices on our network, as well as the modem, which is the connection. So Benzie County for this foreseeable future will continue to pay that cost for the connection to the system so that that cost is not being passed on to the agency at this time. I'm not saying it never will be because, again, we don't know what 10 years down the road looks like. But at this point, we're going to continue to pay for those connection costs. And we have been informed by the vendor that the cost is going to go up pretty drastically coming here in the next year. And so Corey can kind of give you the idea of what we're paying and what it looks like we're going to be paying in the near future.
Sure, Corey Ellis, 911 director. So the dollar amount that I configured or that I figured out is not encompassing every MDT that's listed on there. It encompasses the MDTs that are not Benzie EMS because they pay for a lot of their own, and not the sheriff's department because they now pay for a lot of their own. So it's not an all-encompassing one. It's kind of broke up, and we're trying to transition into what the future will look like. But for conversation's sake, it's about $7,000 a year. And that's what we contribute for the CAD license itself, the remote access, the VPN license, and also the cellular connection. And then in addition to that, there's wireless modems in the vehicles, and we have, I believe there's 9 of them that I had identified that are beyond end of life. We had that conversation. So replacement of those are $2,000 a piece. So those are also going to be replaced. So there's significant dollar amount that we're still putting into those.
And that $7,000, what is being paid now, that cost is the cost that will increase when the vendor drastically increases their charge to us, which we're looking at, wasn't it close to tripling?
Yeah, so the VPN license itself, just that piece tripled in cost, and I've received the first bill for that, and it did actually triple.
So potentially from 7,000 to 21,000.
I don't think it'll go that high because, again, we don't, or my department doesn't pay all of those licenses independently. So it's really hard to figure out exactly how much it will cost moving forward. Like I said, Benzie EMS kind of pays for some of their own. The sheriff's department pays for some of their own. So I have to do a lot of math to figure out exactly what it'll be.
Thanks. So we have 2 fire chiefs here today. Before we move into an action on this, would either one of you like to address the commissioners?
Mike McGurr, the Topsville Fire Chief. Thank you for reconsidering our helping us fund these MDTs. There was some misinformation early on that this was more of a financial issue for our fire departments. And that this stuff, these computers should have been treated as equipment, such as our hoses and our helmets. This is true. We do have computers in our system that we do treat as equipment, but these computers weren't ours. These were county-owned computers. They were supplied by the county twice, not just this last one, but the first one. And we had no idea that this Microsoft Windows 10 thing was coming. So we did our budgets. Most of our budgets are due in April. And then first part of April is when we learned that these were going to have to be replaced. So it's not really a financial issue. I mean, I'm sure we can all find room in our budget to do this, but we wouldn't budget for this because they weren't ours in the past. So that's the reason. It's who was following this and who didn't let us know it was time to replace them. And Corey didn't know. He let us know as soon as he found out, but it was too late. Any help we can get will be appreciated. And then we'll have to make our decisions individually as fire chiefs if we want to sign on to the county's CAD system. That's all I got. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks for your comments.
Yep.
Any other discussion? If there's not, there's a recommended motion in your packet. You're welcome to make that motion or any that you choose comfortable with.
I have concerns about the statement just made because the monetary gesture is in reliance of the townships participating in the CAD system. And if they opt out of doing that, why would we make the gesture?
That's a fair point. That's what these dollars are for.
So I think that it should be contingent on,
I would say the best course of action to address that would be to make it a reimbursement. And so if the fire department chooses to move forward down that lane to attach to the county system and they purchase the device, we would reimburse them $500 towards that device for that connection. Then you can secure that the money is going towards the purpose and not just given to the township. And then, they have a random $5 or $500 also sitting in their budget because it's earmarked. It would be based on reimbursement. So then that cleans up books on both ends.
So if you were to go that route, it could say something like administration to budget a one-time allocation or reimbursement of general funds.
There you go. And then when they've purchased that device, then we can provide that reimbursement. Would that be okay?
And I do think having them keep the current MDTs, that wouldn't be contingent upon.
No, because we don't have a purpose for them. We're not going to utilize them for any other purpose. For our purposes, they would be wiped and disposed of. But if they could be utilized for a township function while Microsoft isn't supporting the operating system, you can still utilize the operating system until there's a failure. And so there might be a outside purpose for those devices that they need.
And would you be comfortable in making that motion?
Well, seeing my fire department's gonna be one of the ones receiving this.
It's probably, you could, yeah.
Yeah, you
Could still make.
I'll make the motion that the Board of Commissioners declares MDT devices as described in the communications from 911 Director Corey Ellis dated July 15th, 2025 as surplus and authorizes a transfer of ownership of each device to the respective agencies and further directs administration to budget a one-time allocation general fund dollars in the fiscal year 2025-26 budget to be allocated to each individual fire agency in Benzie County upon proof of purchase of an MDT or for reimbursement.
For reimbursement, yeah.
for a total budget allocation of $3,000.
Roll offs of support.
Questions or comments?
Tammy, did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you would, please let the record reflect that Commissioner Markey indicated that his fire department would get direct benefit, and that'll cover the issue of any conflict, as we learned from our training. If there's no other comments or questions, I'd like to do roll call, please.
Roloffs?
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Nanette,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
aye.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Katie?
The next item in your packet is the amendment to the position roster that is currently in the budget. And then when we adopt the new budget, it would reflect the change. The human resource position in my office is much broader than human resources. The current individual in that position will be leaving. She is going over to one of our neighboring cohorts, the Maples. So we're really excited for her. But she came into this position really thinking it was HR heavy. And as you get into the position, it's not HR heavy, it's HR light. And then there's a lot of other administrative duties that are part of that position, financial, policy, and those sorts of things. And so the fit just wasn't there when you're really going into it thinking it's HR. So the idea here would be to adjust the title. The job description isn't changing, but to adjust the title so that it's more encompassing to the person who's applying for these types of positions. As I went through our drive online, I found that over the years, when Meredy was here and Mitch and the other folks, even 2 administrators ago, there's about 6 renditions of a job description titled Deputy County Administrator, but they're all in essentially the same job description. The most recent one that was changed to the human resource position is actually the exact job description that I was hired in at in 2021 as human resource and finance. And so the job really hasn't changed. There's been some minor tweaking in the sense of less budgetary items. The budget items that are focused in this position have been over the last 2 years, HR budget only, not the whole budget in the grand scheme. But that would shift back to this person would be a partner in the budgeting process. So the idea here today would be to adjust the position title so that it's much clearer to those applying for this position. The bottom line of the wage budget and administration isn't going to change. It would just be a title change. We've tossed around this deputy county administrator title, also assistant county administrator title. I don't think that I'm not married to these words, but the idea would be that it's a much more transparent in the sense of what this position entails, which is not HR heavy, it's HR light, also includes policy and finance and other things.
Is everybody aware of the additional resignation you had in your office?
I think so. Yeah.
And that's what's caused you to have to look more closely.
Shaking your head.
Oh, Christy, I'm sorry. Jelly's leaving.
Okay.
Katie's by herself for the most
Yeah.
part.
And
Such is life.
I had asked Katie, I said, would this change the job description based on what's happening in your office? I think this is part of that response, based on the exit interviews that we had with the employee.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we increase our opportunity to successfully fill this position if we're more candid about what it entails, benefits distribution, policy,
Yes.
payroll. There's a lot that goes on fiscally in that role besides HR.
Right.
And-
And through these conversations too with Shelley's been wonderful in her last couple of weeks, really talking about what was her woes in the position. And it's really, it's certain processes. And even when I came in, I remember these processes being very daunting. Kelly graciously sat with me for months trying to figure out how to do a lot of these processes. Sherry Taylor really bailed me out at the beginning as well. And these processes, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for tweaking these processes to make them less daunting. When you come into a county role from a private sector role, right there already things are just different, right? County does it differently than the private sector. But then to come into a process, an inherited process that has, you know, many facets of process and procedure shoved into one procedure. It's quite daunting for some. And so we're trying to recognize that, fix the process, improve the process, be more transparent with who's filling the position, that, hey, you know, there's a lot that goes into this position, but there is room for opportunity as well. And so we're just trying to be more transparent in all of that. And that's kind of the idea of this pivot in direction of title change to make it a bit more all-encompassing.
And I would also add that as far as the roster structure, it falls in alignment with what we already have in terms of the other 3 offices.
Yes, it does.
So
Mhm.
each register of deeds, clerk and treasurer have a deputy, correct?
Mhm.
And so this would just make that in alignment.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, when I say 6, there's 6 renditions over the years of one that was worked on. I don't think it ever made it over the finish line per se. But you know, Benzie County was really figuring out what they wanted administration to look like for a lot of years. It fell into the clerk's office for a while, and the treasurer's office was helping, and, you know, and so Benzie County's been really trying to establish what that office looks like. And I think we're to a point now where we've kind of figured out what we want it to look like.
Yeah, and then there was a shift to the finance role and then pivot back to the
There's been a
HR
lot of
role and then,
roles.
yeah.
And then they added that drive-through window, and it's, you know, a whole thing.
Would you like fries with that?
Yes. I do want to comment too, in this state of flux in the office, I just want to say thank you to everybody here on this campus. They've all been gracious. They've all been wonderful. Tammy's happy to help. Kelly's happy to help. Rebecca's like, I don't know how to do the process, but I'll help you. You know, and so I just want to say thank you to our staff. We have good people here, and they're really willing to help me in this weird flux situation.
The 2 cents that I would add to this is that when you hire somebody for human resources, that's quite different than hiring somebody to run payroll and benefits. Those
Yes.
are actually 2 different skill sets. And that's what we learned through this process.
Mhm.
Our HR director came in, given their background, when they heard HR, they thought it was HR in the most conventional sense. And obviously it turned out not to be. What we've also learned is there's an extraordinary amount of time spent on processing our payroll, which Rhonda and I have encouraged Katie at a later date to look at how we do payroll. Is there a more efficient way to do that? We've also suggested to her to take a look at tasks that we've laid out right now, and except for the most urgent ones, push them out to 3 or 4 months in the future, because when you bring someone new in, you still got that transition time.
Mhm.
And there is a possibility at times that we may have to have the door closed at administration, because we have one person now, and that after what date, what's the last date for?
Friday is your last day.
So we've already acknowledged it and talked through it as thoroughly as we could as to how we'll accommodate that.
Yep.
I want to say publicly that based on my conversations with the employees, I don't believe this to be a trend that we need to be concerned about. I think it's just, one was clearly a personal issue, and the other one was an opportunity to actually play a human resource director. Because if I understand, they're going to another agency within the county, right?
The Maples.
Yeah, right. So we did review it from that perspective also to make sure that there weren't any red flags. Just want to clear the air on that. If there's no other comments or questions.
I got one real quick.
Please.
I know you'd mentioned before about changing a title and then a union issue. Does this not apply at
No,
all? Okay.
it's all non-exempt, non-union, all those good things. So
Okay.
If someone would be comfortable to make the recommendation in front of you, or any motion you'd like to make?
I'll make the motion that the Board of Commissioners amends the 2024-25 employee roster and replace the human resource manager position with a deputy county administrator position.
I'll second.
One more chance for questions or comments? Roll call, please. Up.
I just have one comment. I just want to make sure too that, you know, even though it's HR light, that HR section piece doesn't get lost.
Right.
You know, HR is so important. You know, that's who everybody goes to, right? For help and,
Mhm.
you know, whatever. So I understand why we're moving to deputy county administrator. I just want to make sure we don't lose that HR piece, and that even though it's HR light, we still need somebody who is HR savvy.
I agree with that too. And that's
Okay.
why we went the HR direction 4 years ago, is because HR is so important. And the fact that we've had somebody that's HR, in that position, the staff has really reaped the benefit of that. And so, yes, that won't be lost. It really won't be lost.
Good observation. Many of us feel, if not all of us, feel the same way.
Understand?
Call.
Bauer,
Hey, yes.
Grigg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next item, we've moved from the study session to this morning's meeting. First, because we knew we could accommodate it. And secondly, we've discussed this at length. So I'm going to ask you to introduce this, and then we'll respond to any questions people may have.
Absolutely. So at the last study session, we had continued the conversation of the fiscal year budget for 25-26. And we kind of left that meeting thinking there was still a little bit of unfinished business when it came to the draft budget before we put forward the draft budget book. And so the discussion today is just to kind of button up the draft spreadsheet budget discussion, which will then allow me to create the book itself to distribute to all of you. And then from there, that book is, again, could be changed. There's always amendments that can be made to the draft budget before it's adopted. But typically we try to, when we get to that draft budget book, they're very minor. And then you would adopt the budget in September specifically. At the beginning of the year, we publish a calendar for the year, which says when we're dispersing the draft budget and so forth. And so this is, okay. By buttoning this up today, it'll help us keep that timeline for dispersing the draft budget book by the August 12th meeting. And so at the last meeting, we covered quite a few, actually, I think all of Commissioner Nye's list as far as what to bring back: bailiffs, fourth sergeant, Betsy Valley Trail funding, and so forth. So what kind of is left is there's just a short list of things. So one of them is MERS, and I briefly touched on at the last meeting that MERS recently published their new actuarial, and in that actuarial, it's projecting less money as the flat rate to go to MERS monthly. We had budgeted currently just keeping it the same. And so I wanted to hear from this board, do you want to keep the payment the same, which is higher, or do you want to only pay MERS what they're asking us to pay?
They're forecasting that it's going to go down now, but then increase in the future.
That is correct.
Does their models afford the forecast to be adjusted with knowing that we're going to, if we maintain our current payment, or they don't offer that?
So you can make additional payments to MERS, but you've asked Tony a couple of times if he can demonstrate how those additional payments impact, and that has not been able to be demonstrated. And so that is why the sense has been to not pay them extra, because they cannot demonstrate where the additional payments are actually impacting the liability.
So
But you can always make them.
would then it make sense for us to put that money aside, put it into an investment where we can actually make more money on the difference? So when the payments do go up, we may have a little bit of a cushion from the investment.
That would be at your discretion.
I'd remind us though that we're using surplus to balance our budget this year anyway. So it's not like the revenues against expenses for this year creates an additional surplus. So we already have it, theoretically, we've already got it reinvested. I would say also that the only time there's any impact, and I'm not convinced that it's significant, is when you make a lump sum investment at the beginning of the year, is that money then works for you for the whole year. But when you do it month to month or quarter to quarter, it really doesn't have an impact.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about doing an annual payment last fiscal year, but we didn't fully pull the trigger on that. So we should consider that again with this budget adoption of doing a lump sum payment versus paying monthly like we are now.
And we wouldn't even really have to budget for it. We could, at a later date, but before the end of it'd have to be the calendar year, right?
Mhm.
We could make an amendment or an adjustment. What is that? Yes. We could make an amendment where we do a one-time contribution. But make that decision at a later date, not
Yeah.
now.
We can talk about it with budgeting adoption of whether or not we want to change that process. Yes. Sneezy today.
Your questions?
So
Mm.
currently we're paying 90 to 92,000 a month. Bringing it down, they're anticipating paying 84,000 a month starting October 1 of 25. And then October 1 of 26, they're telling us we have to pay just shy of 94 a month, 94,000. So that's the change from year to year that they're giving us.
And right now, what are we budgeted for?
Staying the same.
Staying the same?
Yeah.
And if we make the adjustment going on their recommendation, that puts about another $120,000. That would help with the shortfall at Central Dispatch, right?
Well, it's 72 to 78,000 is what it would be additional back into the general fund.
Well, it's not 10,000.
No, it's
Month.
under 10,000.
Okay.
Mhm.
But still, that money could be used where we have a more immediate need.
Yep, and then that would be last year pulling from fund balance to support central dispatch operations. We could utilize what's in the general fund to help support that. I would still strongly recommend that we put money into the contingency fund. That makes sense, and that is that line is meant to be there for the oh my gosh, we forgot, or oh my gosh, we have to do this kind of moments. So I would still recommend putting a little money in contingency as a safety net. But this then would bring down the amount of dollars you would have to use a fund balance to support central dispatch operations.
By the silence, what I'm hearing is we concur that
Okay.
we're going to go with MERS schedule.
Yeah, it
Am I
doesn't make sense
misreading
not
that?
to if it doesn't change the increase later.
And their numbers are really sometimes I don't understand how they even arrive at them.
It's all about smoothing.
It's and they say next year, one thing, does it make any sense? Pay me less this year, but I know you're going to pay me more next year.
Right.
I don't
Let's see what happens next year, I guess.
Yeah. Tony is coming in September. That's as soon as he could come. So keep these questions on your docket when he's here.
So I would definitely be in favor of making the payment that they're requesting at the lower rate, but I would also be in favor of a discussion about making that one lump beginning of the year payment for a savings to the county. So I don't know when that has to be scheduled, but I know it's a timing issue, so I would rather get that on our radar
Well,
to
if you
make
put
that
it,
decision.
if you put it in contingent,
Mm-hmm.
then we can discuss that even at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else to talk about regarding MERS contribution? You wanted to talk a moment about building department fees?
Yep. There's a
Yeah, I
list.
was surprised to hear that.
I was too.
In all of our discussions about building and grounds, it's been made very clear that their fund balance is adequate, maybe perhaps more than adequate, and that those monies are much like a millage designated just for the building department and cannot be used in any other area. And so I was surprised to hear that increase was being researched.
So that was the first I've heard of it as well. I wasn't aware that an increase was going to be coming at any time. There's been zero communication from them regarding that. So again, also caught off guard. Their fund balance isn't amazing. I mean, they've $60,000 in fund balance. So it's not like some astronomical amount of money that's sitting there. And that's, $60,000 that has built up over time. So they're just about breaking even. We're just about breaking even in the sense of what they're bringing in and what we're paying out to them. So I don't know how much room for change there is. I'll be curious to see what his proposal is as far as the increase goes. Now, obviously, if he's bringing in more and then we're paying out more, maybe it's status quo in the sense of what we're still putting into fund balance. But they don't have some astronomical fund balance by any means.
So
They did have a substantial fund balance, and part of that was used by the health department to do the records. We were able to take some of
That's
that
right.
money, so.
That's right.
That was pre-game.
I don't It was what, 2 years ago?
Mhm.
That's
That,
right.
you guys were mostly through that project when I came here in 21. Cause then I paid like the last bill is all for that.
But it came out of their fund balance, a portion of it. Just can't remember.
So we contract out for our building department.
Correct.
And I would hesitate to support increase of fees to our community if the department's in good standing and we're accumulating more revenue than we use.
Well, they're asking for a raise for themselves is what they're asking for.
Yes, but I also think he's asking to implement higher costs to our community
Mhm.
in the same sense. So they base their rates, most of their rates off a state code fee schedule. And so my understanding of the brief few minutes that he said is the rates would be increased all the way around. So the rate would be increased to our community, and then the rate paid that we pay back to them would also be increased based on those rates.
That's what I'm saying. They're essentially what he's asking for is an increase for their revenue.
That is correct.
And in order to accomplish that, that's to increase the fees to the public.
Mhm.
And I find it interesting timing that this is right when he's in the process of selling the company.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder, what kind of arrangement he has in that sale.
Yeah, they have about a $400,000 department budget. And so that's the amount of money it costs to run the operation down there. I can tell you there's been a lot of pushback when I asked them to do tasks outside of strictly scheduling an inspection and doing an inspection. I've asked countless times for them to digitize that department. I even bought scanners for those folks. I bought the large scale scanner that they told me to buy, and now they don't like it and won't use it. So if there's going to be changes, we're going to want some changes that benefit us as well. We're trying to digitize the county, and that is the largest paper volume in the county outside of equalization, no offense. As far as paper we have on the campus. So there'll be some negotiation happening for that increase.
Maybe this is an opportunity to look at our arrangement, see if there's something others that we could pursue.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, a $400,000 budget for a department. I mean, how many people is that?
Have we always contracted out? Have
No.
we- When did that happen, Gary?
Oh, actually, he went to work for Benzonia and he passed away from the
Niger, Dave?
Tiger used to run that department. I don't remember when that changed over.
It seems like it was in the early 2000s because wasn't there a Hogan too that was down there?
Steve Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah, mid to late 2000s. Right, they were staff. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think Tim's headed down the right road. This is gonna be more about their
Yeah.
contract. And if they want more money, what are our other options?
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to review and look at who we're contracted with.
Yeah.
Periodically. It looks like
Absolutely.
we've been with them for a while now.
They've been the
Now-
only
now-
agency since you contracted.
And their income does fluctuate because it's all based on activity.
Right.
So it's not like we have a hard dollar, we pay them. And if there's more activity, we collect more money and they don't. The more activity there is, the more money they make.
Correct. Yeah, we pay permit fees. We also have a flat fee though for like administrative, and then we pay based on permit. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it sounds like that's gonna be a future conversation.
Yes. So from a budgeting standpoint, I mean, I don't know where to lie it right now. Just because again, that's the first I've heard of it.
Okay.
Even when I asked them for budget numbers, it wasn't mentioned. So it's very interesting, the timing on all of that. Yeah. Okay. That it for building department?
No, do you have any, it sounds like you don't have clear direction on that.
I will try to get a hold of Bert and sit down with Bert and Nick. I think Nick is who's actually buying the company, Nick Keck. And see what they have to say. For now, I'm going to leave the numbers as is until we have some direction from them as to what they're proposing to do.
What's the consequences if we went with the current budget and then we were able to legitimize their request, but it was after October 1. What's the consequences?
Nothing. We just do a budget amendment to recognize the additional revenue and expenditure. It's just a vote by the board.
So there really is no pressure to get this done by the end of September.
Other than my OCD of accuracy, yes.
Legitimate.
But no, you're right. Okay, moving on then from that, interest income, you wanted to bring that conversation back. We went over the interest income today. Kelly's projecting right around a 2.5 or 3 in the budget. You wanted to re-explore that and re-examine that potentially.
Well, that's when I had heard that we were forecasting 2.5.
2.5.
I had
Yeah.
2.3 written down.
3 makes more sense to me.
Okay, so we'll get those numbers adjusted. Okay. And then central dispatch, just confirming that we're utilizing general fund dollars, whether it's general fund fund balance or what's in the general fund to balance that. So everybody's still on the same page of that one. Right? Yes, cool.
Yes.
Okay, just looking at my list if there's anything else. Just point of note, so we budgeted 10% for an increase, or 12% for an increase for the health insurance because that was the cap that we were given by Priority Health when we contracted with them last year. They came in at 9.8%. So there'll be a little savings there from the health insurance standpoint across all funds that have employees because they came in at the 9.8% versus the 12 that we budgeted. So that was exciting. The ancillary benefits, vision is staying the same. We had a price guarantee there, so that's great. We had budgeted a 5% increase for Delta Dental. We went back to Delta Dental and renegotiated, and they agreed to no increase for 2 years. So there'll be a tiny bit of savings there, not much. Delta Dental is a pretty small strawberry in the patch. And so it'll be a little bit of savings from a Delta Dental standpoint as well. So those funds with employees will see a little savings in those benefits because we were able to negotiate some better rates. Advantage Benefits Group will also be here on August 12th to kind of go over what the benefits are looking like. One item that is of change is the IRS has established increases in the high deductible plans. And so every year they send out and say every high deductible plan has to go up by this amount of money. And so the deductible for staff for a family and double would go up 100%, and for a single is $50. And so that's that much more deductible staff would cover. I propose keeping it at 50% of the deductible, which is what we did this year. So that does mean that there is a small increase in the HSA going to the staff, if that's what you agree with. Because there is the increase in the deductible bestowed upon us by the IRS, our 50% is technically a little bit more. So for a single, it's an additional $25. For doubles and families, it's an additional $50 given to the employee into an HSA. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to everybody that 50% is not the same dollar amount as this fiscal year. It's a tiny bump because of what the IRS does to us.
And is that on an annual basis or monthly?
My understanding from our benefits agent is the IRS pushes out changes to that HSA limit just about every year.
No, I mean, that bump, that $50, is that for the full year?
Yes, it's an annual. So right now we do quarterly amounts into the HSA for the staff. We established the benefits committee of staff, which all of you supported. And the conversation at that table was quarterly isn't great. So the discussion at that table is to make it a twice a year payment into those HSAs. That would help staff a little more in meeting those deductibles if we did 2 times a year versus 4 times a year. So those conversations are still happening. And that will be final decided upon when we actually adopt the health insurance and benefits plans. We'll decide on that rhythm at that time at this level. But the staff is they're pushing for a twice a year payment versus a 4 time a year payment.
And we're taking into account what the liability is for the county by doing that, right?
Yes.
Because there's going to be a certain amount of fallout.
Correct.
So let me ask Katie on this topic. We made the change from Blue Cross Blue Shield to priority
Correct.
with the HSA. What is your feedback then from the staff regarding these changes and the level of services provided?
Sure. So there was a lot of growing pains at the beginning. I remember a lot of folks giving their opinions to Jackie and some to me about the growing pains because the plan is wildly different than what the arrangement we were on. Things have really simmered out though. There hasn't been a ton of feedback in the sense that it's terrible. People are learning to adjust. Specifically, I have received feedback that the plan isn't as rich for those of the older generation as it is for the younger generation. That's an interesting concept that I've heard, and I've actually heard it from younger generation folks as well when they're observing the plan. So that might be an opportunity to discuss it a little more in depth as far as what it looks like for the older population versus the younger population of our county services. But there hasn't been a ton of response lately in this plan sucks, for lack of better words. Like there was at the beginning when there was a lot of growing pains, those things have really fizzled out. There's, been very specific as regarding carriers and who they're dropping and not dropping, but that's been really focused on the dental side of things because there was a lot of hoopla going on with Delta Dental. Delta Dental hadn't raised their rates to the providers in like 11 years. And so a lot of dentists have dropped Delta Dental. Delta Dental recognized that they've raised their rates to the providers, and it sounds like some providers have brought them back. So I think that's fizzling out as well. From a Blues to priority standpoint, there's always going to be one or two people who wish it was the old way, but as a whole, there hasn't been the complaints there was in those first few months of transition.
The last time we had a discussion on this, I thought I heard said that we had 14 employees that opted out of the family plan coming this year. Is that because of the cost sharing?
I can't tell you why people went on to their spouse's plans or what have you. But we did have an increase in who went on to someone else's plan versus ours. But when you look at the historical trends, we're now back to the number we were at 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, we were at 89 folks on our plan. We got up to 92 and then 96, and now we're back to 89 on our plan. So when you're looking at the trends, yes, people left when we went to priority, but we're back to where we were about 3 years ago. So it's interesting to watch how those ebbs and flows are happening as far as who's taking our coverage versus maybe their spouse's coverage. We do remind folks that there is an in lieu of out there. A lot of folks don't realize that we have an in lieu of for our health insurance. So if you're on your spouse's insurance, we will pay you a stipend for taking your spouse's insurance if you don't take ours. And I think when people realize that too, they look at it a little closer as to, maybe this one's better than this one or what have you. But we didn't drastically drop by any means, but we did lose a couple of folks when we went to the priority HSA high deductible versus the HRA arrangement.
Other questions regarding the health insurance piece of it? You have other items you want to address on the budget?
I think the only other thing, and Rhonda, you and I briefly talked about it, so maybe it's not ready, the conservation district.
Yeah, there is going to be an ask after the draft is completed, and John Troop I'll let him speak to that. He's planning on it. When they come in, they're going to have a presentation, and it's going to be a one-time ask. They are talking with, I'm not going to say this right, Collegio? Did I say it right? Okay.
Cooligo? I think it's Cooligo. Right? Cooligo? I call it
All right,
Cooligo.
It's
I
a
call it
mapping
Cooligo.
system that
Yeah.
Equalization uses, and they're really in the process of coming up with a service for our community that maps properties and tells you what you need from a building perspective, a natural resource protective perspective. It's really kind of a cool thing, and I'm excited to see where they're at with it. It falls in line with what the EDC talked about when we had a consultant come in as far as one-stop shopping. It gives a place for folks to go, developers to go, people who want to move to our community to point to a map and say, what is this? What can I do here? What's the best? So I'm gonna not do their presentation for them, but I'm excited about that, but it's important to note that it will, I listened in on the meeting with Colligo, And the county has a subscription,
Mhm.
which they are welcome to piggyback on, but the development of the mapping system, I believe they're being told right now is will probably be under $20,000, but they do plan on approaching this board about offering the service to the community.
Mhm.
And I look forward to the presentation.
Yep, John and I briefly talked about it too, a couple Fridays ago about the idea of working together to create. So the buzzword in the region has been zoning atlas, and I think a couple of you went to the zoning atlas presentation that was had up the hill. And so the idea of what John's working through is almost creating like a Benzie custom zoning atlas for Benzie County, utilizing our existing databases that we already have. So we're building layers versus starting from scratch, all about working together, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the idea is rather than have them recreate the wheel, they're taking our wheel and adding spokes to it.
So this request is different than this presentation I sat through at Mills House.
Very much so. This would be Benzie specific.
Okay, and are they approaching the townships about it too? Because the townships each township benefits from this also, right?
He did not indicate that to me. We can ask those questions when he comes forward.
I understood that this would be a good tool for developers.
Absolutely.
Developers I talked to said, not really. But information's already available.
All right.
So anyway, we're gonna get a presentation on that.
Yes.
How does that fit into this discussion regarding the upcoming budget?
Because I think the draft is going to be created after this meeting, but there's still wiggle room for adjustments
Mhm.
before it's approved. And so
That's
this may be one of those asks that might be presented after the draft, just putting that on the radar.
So he really needs to get in front of us.
I believe he's
before-
spoken with Katie and I think they've selected a time frame, or no?
It's kind of dependent on what we're would do in the whole grand scheme of it. Yes.
So, but for this budget year, he needs to get in front of us before really September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's planning to come in August to you, to go over it and make the request.
I think
Yep.
that's what you were saying, the schedule.
Yep.
Okay.
So the only other thing that's on my list is our marijuana dollars. So as you know, we receive dollars from the state for the marijuana facilities within Benzie County, part of the general fund. It's utilized to balance the general fund. I received a pretty lengthy email, and Rhonda, you did too, from Val and Bruce Gearhart regarding the marijuana dollars and the disappointment of not allocating those dollars for reasons outside of the general fund. So I will forward this email on to the Board of Commissioners regarding these marijuana funds. Based on the email, what I'm gathering is they would like to see maybe some of those dollars be put towards programming here in Benzie County. One item that is noted right in here is the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library specifically, and then as well as Cognition is noted in here. So I will forward that to you as well for consideration. If you would like to have them in front of you to talk about this, or if you just want to read the email, just let me know what your thoughts are on that. But they would like to see some of those dollars maybe be allocated for, specific programming versus utilized for general fund balancing.
And we started this conversation.
Correct.
It was the community, what did we call it? Community enhancement?
Something
Community-
like that,
something-
yeah.
We had a name
Yep.
and we started and the conversation went flat. I would be open to revisiting it. I think that allocating a portion of the marijuana funds just for reasons, I mean, we've had this discussion. When folks come to us with an idea and we don't have a pot set aside where we say, okay, this checks this box, this box, this box, we
Mhm.
can use X amount of dollars for things we didn't anticipate at budgeting time that do benefit our community. I think it's a good resource to have and establish and set aside.
Mhm.
I think that the EDC conversation took a different direction and we
Yes.
thought at that time, well, that's what the monies could be used for, and we found a different source for those monies. So I would be open to having that conversation in the future.
I think it was community investment.
Community community enhancement. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So, you want to have that conversation now or later?
I'm open to it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
So there's an email that you're forwarding.
Yep.
Be wise to us have a chance to review that.
You know, that young lady and some of the stuff that they're doing, trying to do when they were trying to build over in Thompsonville onto the school and all this other stuff, so always leery about handing out projects that don't benefit the entire community. Rather reduce taxes somehow.
Sure.
The only exception to that is that there are parts of the community that are more vulnerable than others. So it may not necessarily benefit the entire community, but it benefits that vulnerable population who we frequently target dollars to.
I know with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, they hit you right in the hospital for that, I learned. And so it's part of the packet of stuff they give you when you're having a baby and you sign up for it. And then there's a group here in Benzie County that sponsors that and they send books to your children. So that would impact anybody who's having a child that lives in Benzie County. So.
Well, I think Tim gave some wise advice. Let's take a look at the email. I'm not sure from my perspective if those are the right things.
Right.
When I think about vulnerable populations, but it does make me think that there might be groups that would benefit from it that might make sense.
Part of that email that Val included was an attachment to Grand Traverse County's packet, which does go over their marijuana funds and how they're going to propose spending those funds going forward. So that is in there as well. It is draft. I don't know if it was approved or not, but in there they talk about what they plan to spend some of those dollars on going forward in Grand Traverse County, which is nonprofits, places of worship, and so forth. So, but they're getting an astronomically way more money than we are.
Yeah. And I know that we're going to discuss this more probably in August, but Rhonda, I think you touched on something. We did talk about having a group or a committee that has some kind of community enhancement or community investment fund. And maybe the real discussion needs to be putting that committee together and then let the committee look at these things versus us as a full board.
Yeah, the three of us sat down and talked about it a couple of times. And then it kind of was, the timing wasn't right, is kind of what it boiled down to. What's that?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we have had a few asks that come to mind, the O'Malley Park in Honor. We've had the ice rink in Beulah. There are certain things that just, they're one-time community things that we don't have a resource or a pool to say, yeah, as a county, we want to be a partner. We want to contribute and say that we supported this. So it's an opportunity to just say whatever marijuana funds, we're going to set aside X amount into this pot. When that's gone, it's gone. But this is what we're going to have that set aside. I think it's a good idea. But.
Well, and you'll see in the attachment, that's what Grand Traverse County did. I mean,
Okay.
they're not calling it community investment fund or whatever. But that's the policy that was included in the email from Val from Grand Traverse County. And that's kind of in a nutshell what they're doing. This amount of money from these dollars is being set aside. These folks are eligible to apply for these dollars. Here's the maximum award, and this is what they can be spent on. And it's kind of a grant system through the county with those dollars. So it's like what we talked about. They're just further ahead.
I'd love to be a partner in the community in that way.
I think we got a real positive feel through the COVID dollars, what we can do other than just the day-to-day operating expenses.
Definitely.
Is kind of what our appetite for those kind of things, but never really had the source of funding consider it fast. So let's bring that back up again in an August meeting, maybe at a study session.
Sure.
All right.
That
Anything
is,
else, Katie?
that's all I have on my list related to budget. If I'm forgetting something, I apologize. I don't know if anyone has anything on their lists.
I just want to circle back on one item, district court, Kim's retirement. There had been the ask for 15,000 to transition and
Yep.
we had to reduce that. We had decided to reduce that to 10. I
Correct.
just want to make sure that wasn't, that was viewed positively.
It was.
It was.
They were
Okay.
thankful for even the 2 months versus the 3. I mean,
Okay.
they're thankful for anything. I can tell you that.
So we're gonna have a chance to talk about the budget again. No doubt.
Yep, so on August 12th, I will officially give you the book, and that will have the draft General Appropriations Act, the draft roster, all of the per diem committees, all the things. So you'll get the official book. If I could get a show of hands from this group who wants a real 3-ring binder versus the digital version, that would be helpful for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Art?
Sure.
7. 7. Okay, 7 books. Got it.
Book-
We'll give you your
Digital, right?
We'll give you your binder back when
Yes.
we're done.
We want
Just give me your binders back. I do reuse them. It'll also be on the website. So typically what happens is I'll put the book together and I distribute it to this board, then it goes on the website. So you get the first look at the book itself, and then it goes on the website, and we'll schedule a public hearing also at that time. We'll hold the public hearing. That's the opportunity for the public to come in and say, I don't like this, I do like this, and so forth. And then there's still another gap, a 2-week gap, and then you consider adopting the budget and the associated appendices. So I will get 7 books together. If you have last year's binder, please give it to me. I reuse them. And yeah, I'll distribute them on August 12th. So.
And the public not only can get it digitally, but if they came in, they could, there'll be a book available for them to look at also.
Yep. So Tammy has a book on her counter. She has to have it on the counter for a certain period of time. And then I try to maintain a book in my office as well, because it's just nice to check on things. So, but she will have the official public book on her counter.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. To be continued.
To be continued.
Commissioner reports. Gary, let's start with you today.
After our last meeting, I went to Weldon and Gilmore. I don't know where to go with this, because the treasurer discovered that they can tax everybody's camper at these campgrounds at $3 a. Obviously, they would run it through the person that owns the campground and collect that as a tax. $3, thinking, quit nickel and diming everybody. This is me, just quit. Anyway, I'll go on to say that they have worked. MDOT had a project on the end of Hayes Road where they took the abutments out of the Betsy River. Done that, but a couple of the local folks that live over there aren't happy with how they accomplished it. That if you want to drag a kayak down there now, you really have your hands full to get back to the river. So Hayes Road is that little short cutoff off of Lindy. Used to be a 1-lane bridge that went across there, which collapsed over years. And anyway, so that project was. I also went to the Seabury thing at the Garden Theater. The foundation has helped a lot of kids, and I know my 2 sons got things for college. They don't remember it. Yeah, I know they got money from them. So I thought it was pretty well attended. Different than what I'm used to, but the problem with having it in Frankfurt, and I'm sure that's why Art wasn't able to make it. You have to park 10 miles away and then walk, and it's kind of hard to get there, and there's no place to. It was nice. I also went to the TARP. What do you call it? Dig a hole to start the project.
Groundbreaking, Gary.
The groundbreaking, yeah. They all got a nice fancy shovel. They gave each of the 3 township supervisors a shovel and the village president a shovel. I'm thinking, what you guys gonna do with this? The ground was so hard they couldn't even break it. So anyway, that's supposed to get started this fall. It's kind of exciting. So, and then I also went to the thing in Alberta from the Conservancy and discussed the land bank project. They're looking to do bring in developers and discuss with the developers what they're looking at doing. And I'm calling it an RFP. They're gonna discuss and try to find somebody that the village agrees with and the conservancy agrees with, and they will do that project. Couple things that they discussed that I thought were interesting. Conservancy has over 4,000 acres in the 3-county area. They also had a development in, I believe it was Grand Traverse County, a start. They called it the Ridge. I don't know much about it, but instead of their normal procedure where they don't allow any development, because of the property values and stuff, they're gonna allow limited development. So I see the Conservancy changing their focus a little bit. So to try and bring in tax revenue instead of doing that, so it's amazing to me how collect money. Thinking maybe they could help us with Wayne Dutzy. Anyway, yeah, it was groundbreaking. I wrote it. Benzie Bus. Kind of they're working on their budgets. They had a proposal from Manor Castarian.
Banner comparison.
Consterison, yeah, okay. And it was a proposal to basically review the procedures that the Benzie Bus is doing. Most of the board agreed that it's probably a good thing to do. But they decided they needed to get proposals from other companies to do that, which I think is good. Do an RF and see how that goes. June, there was an increase in income, and I think it was from the drivers. I'm not sure. Anything helps. Always looking for things like that. So that was good. Village of Alberta. I think her name's Beth Roth. I don't. It's from the Cabbage Shed. She is helping to do that fundraiser on August 2nd. And she was asking for the village to allow them to park in certain places, give them more room because they anticipate quite a bit. Benzie Playboys are be there. That was the live band. I type dancing. Anyway, it ought to be pretty good. And they have a new trustee, Bill O'Dryer. Is the one that's on there now, so but they're still short one. Nothing major there. That's it.
Questions for Gary? I do want to make a follow-up comment regarding Benzie Bus. There's been at least one board member at Benzie Bus that has expressed frustration specifically with me that we've not filled those appointments yet. With what's happening, we're right in the heat of budget. We've got a couple of people down in administration. We simply aren't doing anything right now to fill any positions. And so Dave, Gary, if you would make sure that the message gets back to the right people. We have full intentions of putting together an interview committee at some later date, but we're probably looking closer to the end of August.
And they're not. They still have a full quorum, so it's not like we're hurting through.
Right, right.
2 people short and what was it? When we finally got the resignations?
June.
June.
How many applicants do we have for that position, Katie?
Oh, let me pull up to give you the real number. I think it was 5.
And so
5.
while she's looking, because we have 5 applicants, we will do a subcommittee and we will look at each
There'll be an interview.
and interviews.
So
I've got in mind who I'm going to ask to serve on that already, so.
I have 5 in my Benzie Bus applications folder. In full transparency, though, I'm behind in emails. So if there's one in my email, I haven't identified it, but I have 5 saved in my folders. I think I heard somebody snicker that I'm behind in my emails, but.
Does our posting indicate anything about when they, my concern is about the applicants, what they perceive as the timeline? Are we clear on what they can expect as far as when it closes and when we take action? Or did we leave that open-ended?
Yep, so we typically leave the public appointment opportunities open-ended, but it's been stated multiple times at public meetings that we are giving about 60 days
Okay.
to do this process. But we don't typically put timelines on the website. If that's a request, we could tweak. My worry though is Benzie Leelanau Health Department Board of Appeals, we've had that open for 7 months now and nobody's applied. So I hate to put timelines on ones that, I mean, if we're not getting application. So but we can do whatever.
Historically, we have not had timelines on it
Correct.
for reasons you've just discussed. Keeping in mind, we only officially got notified on these resignations 30 days ago.
Yeah.
And we're kind of letting the clock run, but more importantly, we have to look at the workload. We got to get through budget. There's things that are taking priority because the busing authority continue to operate.
Mhm.
It's not as if they're not able to have a quorum and make decisions.
I want to add one more thing real quick. In the busing authority, they did get a letter from our Congressman Bergman that sounds like they will be allowed to use not necessarily strictly electric vehicles. They can use the
Hybrids.
So that's a possibility that might change the dynamics of that. I thought that was good news.
Great. Dave, we're moving on to you. Anything you want to add to the discussion on the Benzie bus?
Yeah, just the big thing with the pushing back the consultant, the authority actually gets a reimbursement from the state on certain things if they're budgeted. And previous budget didn't have any room for a consultant in there. So by pushing it back a few months, we can get up to, I think it's 34.5, 35% back from the state to pay for that consultant. So that was a big portion of, well, let's get more bids and, you know, take our time with it so that we can get it into the budget and get a kickback state on it. Other than that, I had Inland Township meeting. That was they got their audit back unmodified. They were a little bit behind just because some things weren't balanced, but when I was the supervisor, we brought in a firm to help us fix that. So the audit was a little bit late, but did receive unmodified. Working on their master plan. They have their first public meeting Monday at 6 for that. Also did the Thompsonville meeting. What did they say, Gary? Like 12 places haven't responded to the water meter thing?
Yeah, there's a few residents that,
Yeah.
like you said, don't want anything, won't talk to anybody, so.
But they're actually gonna do the pits themselves. So that's gonna save them quite a bit of money on that portion of the project. And then they had an issue with one of the appointees to the the joint planning committee. They decided not to remove her and then she resigned. So I guess that is open. Other than that, Benzie Central, their soccer team is having a fundraiser this Friday and Saturday. 11 to 5 on Friday, 12 to 5 on Saturday, or no, 5 to 9 on Saturday. And it is a football or foot golf. Basically, they've set up a golf course that you play with soccer balls. If anyone's interested in that.
Anything else, Dave? Questions or comments on his report? Jim?
Homestead and Township Board, Troy from the Road Commission was present to discuss the paving of the very northern end, which is a hill of Weldon Road, because every year the road commission has to do a lot of time and dollars and gravel to backfill because of erosion. Central Wellness Board. We decided to rename our board retreat to something like board member development. Because we really don't, it's not really a retreat, it's more about educating the board member. We had a very lengthy discussion on our neighbors to the north, Northern Lakes, CMH, and their current financial state. Their board passed a budget that was not balanced, and they're relying on the regional contingency fund to balance their budget. And the region's looking at stopping. We also had another lengthy discussion on the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services decision to open the regional mental health contracts to bidding. We've talked about this in depth already here. I did forward a couple emails from Central Wellness's CEO, this board. I'm sure you guys all seen it. I'll let Rhonda add more if she'd like. The Village of Honor, they appointed Jessica Roth to the position of clerk. Jessica was the deputy clerk and had been basically doing all the clerk's activities anyway. That was a planned kind of transition thing, but they didn't get any other applicants besides Jessica. The village is adding paperless billing for their sewers. It'll be an option and people have to opt in for it. They're also looking to add the ability to pay via credit card. They have started working on their new playground. If you drive by the Maley Park, you'll see the fence is up. I think they do have some equipment now delivered. They just haven't installed it. They had something they didn't calculate. They have to have quite a bit of concrete developed, put in some footings to prevent some things from being wobbly. The council was also presented with their sewer rate study, and they will be a minor increase to their sewer rates. Attended the LEPC LPT meetings. And between those two different meetings, we reviewed and approved some emergency operation plan appendices. The flood dam failure, hazardous materials, cyber incident, power outage, and weapons of mass destruction. That's all I got.
Thanks, Tim. Questions or comments for Tim and his report?
Just have one. You discussed that entity's budget, they're passing. I thought by law, but maybe it doesn't apply, don't they have to pass a balanced budget? Am I missing something there? Because we have to. State doesn't have to, but we have to.
No, actually, the state of Michigan's got to have a balanced budget.
They do too? Oh, nice.
Everybody but the federal government.
Just federal government.
Federal, okay. Well, obviously, one other group too. I'm just curious.
Here, I don't have an answer for it.
I appreciate it. I just wanted to make that cute.
And I thought it was even more telling that they gave raises in that unbalanced budget. Truth.
Who is that again?
Northern Lakes.
Northern Lakes Community Mental Health.
Bonuses and raises.
No comment.
Sure.
A few meetings since our last meeting here, came in and approved APs last week. Village of Lake Ann, a couple weeks ago. They were just getting done with wrapping up their Eric Flora 5K run. And that some of those monies will benefit Benzie County Veterans Affairs. And that presentation is coming up next week, I believe. On the 24th. They've been doing this for about 4 years now, I think, on behalf of Eric Florup, a young Lake Ann resident who passed away from brain cancer due to exposure to burn pits. Always a good turnout. I think there was 220 runners or something like that, and 5K really doesn't take that long. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Rhonda ran it a couple of years ago, and
It's all uphill.
it's all uphill.
She didn't do
Sure
it again.
feels like it, doesn't it?
She didn't.
As a lot of you know, I'm active part of the Disabled American Veterans in this region. Our DAV group handles Benzie and Grand Traverse, Leelanau counties. Yesterday there was our annual car show that is put on by Culver's, and some benefits of that come back to the Disabled American Veterans group. Some of you may realize that the DAV does provide transportation to veterans locally and or afar. I've been as far as Ann Arbor. Saginaw used to be a pretty routine run. Those benefits help the transportation network for the DAV. Coming out of Manistee, you'll see DAV cars coming through here. I believe they have a Ford Flex now. The next cars will go back to the Ford Explorers. The Grand Traverse area has 2 Ford Explorers, and since they've changed access to healthcare, very little have to be out of town stuff. Most of the stuff is local. And the monies that we raise go to buying new cars. Fortunately, the DAV has an arrangement with Ford Motor Company and have had since the early 1920s. When we get ready to buy new cars, the DAV puts in a national order once a year. Whoever needs new ones, get new ones. Ours are in pretty good shape yet out of the Traverse City region, and so I expect we'll have them for another 3 or 4 years. Just the donation jar yesterday was right around $3,600. Plus they'll do so much per entry per car, and there was approximately 270 show cars. It was a nice event. Culvers do a great job and have been on board for this event for many, many years, and it's a privilege to be part of it. Also coming up at Benzie Central, the Salute to Services football game with Frankfurt on August 28th. And I'll report on that again when we get a little bit closer, but any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And to be fair, the Eric Thorpe 5K is not all uphill. It actually starts very
Yeah,
gradually and it
exactly.
ends going downhill.
Well, within the hills, but
To be fair, it's a very well run event. So, I attended the Village of Beulah. They received 1 bid and accepted it from Gosling and Zubek for engineering study for their dredging of the Coal Creek Basin. They're holding a work study session with Lake Ann in August to discuss the details of a shared manager. This is going to be an open meeting, but they are not going to be accepting public input. They're going to have the conversations and work on what that joint venture might look like. They approved a legal inquiry up to 15 hours into allegations from one board member against another board member. The board approved hiring their legal representation to look into those and decide if they hold merit. I attended Benzonia Township. Their building is listed at $530,000. They rejected a bid of $325,000, but gave the Conservation District, they were the offerors, first right of refusal for 2 months. They are going to be, the Benzonia Township is going to be holding a special meeting to discuss their attorney use policy that they adopted and their attorney engagement letters. They've secured 2 different firms, not prioritizing one over the other as general and special counsel. So that's going to be a discussion at a special meeting. They talked about their BSNA and the cloud services. They have been quoted, and I share this for the benefit of your township. Benzonia Township was quoted $21,000 for their conversion to the cloud, and their annual fee bump from $2,500 a year to $10,000 a year. So that puts it in perspective with what we're dealing with at the township level. They approved a dangerous building ordinance, and this gives them the basis, the beginning to demolish blighted property. It sets forth condemnation and cleanup through the court process. So if you have violations of this ordinance, it gives them the opportunity to go through the court process to get some sort of resolutions. These are very difficult situations to deal with when you have properties that aren't being taken care of to that degree. Central Wellness, I will just add on to Tim's report that Northern Lakes had 2 candidates for their executive director, and both pulled their candidacy just prior to the decision. The PIHP bid out, the governor has started asking questions, so that's a good sign. And I don't want you to think that our CMH is not looking for solutions. Our discussion evolved into what we would like to see is a rural exemption for the UP in Northern Michigan. If we partnered with the UP and the UP already has a rural exemption, we could form an urban cooperation agreement. There's really no way for a bid out to have competition in Northern Michigan and the UP. Our numbers that we serve, our Medicaid folks in Northern Michigan are 80,000. And in the UP, there's 55,000. So we are 135,000 folks on Medicaid that are eligible compared to 2,465,000 in the center and metro areas in Michigan. So that's where the focus should be, and we should be able to run things the way we're running them well. And so, building and grounds met. I don't think Tim or Gary talked about this.
I forgot that.
Yeah, Mr. Building and Grounds meeting.
Apparently our time wasn't that great.
I guess not, so I'll cover it. We decided to hold off on the irrigation conversation. Apparently we have some trees who have some diseases in the front of the building here, and the Conservation District is looking at those and going to give us recommendations on what we need to do with that. We're still receiving bids on the maintenance barn. We decided to arrange a meeting, or ask Katie to arrange a meeting with Bob's Plumbing and possibly Train to discuss the heating and cooling controls in 911 dispatch. There's a 10-degree fluctuation in temperature. There's humidity in the gym. It's cold in the meeting room. And apparently the idea of set it and forget it is not working up there. And we'd like some answers from the folks who won the bid for that area in the new building, because this is new equipment. So we're going to go forward with that. We recommended approval of a lease agreement with T-Mobile for the emergency communication tower. The contract was provided, and it looks like that may come forward at a later date. And we also recommended termination of our campus cleaning contract. We have cameras all over in both buildings. We can see what folks are doing when they're in the buildings, and there's been a great effort to communicate about things that aren't being done. And the decision was made to open that contract back up. We were told in the contract there would be 2 people cleaning for the 2 buildings, and it appears as though the second person will show up and then leave. There's just a lot of things that aren't working, and so we need to move on to a different provider. And I also attended a gender review. I participated in 3 of the interviews for the executive administrative assistant. We have some really good candidates. I'm excited for Katie to build a new team. And that's all I have.
Questions or comments?
The Benzonia Township Hall. I guess is all I can say. Have they had any lookers, or?
It's listed with Caldwell Banker. Doug Taylor is our agent. He was there at the meeting. He said that he had one person inquire. He was talking with another person over the phone who was going to do a video tour that afternoon. Caldwell Banker and another firm that they didn't go with did a market analysis to set the price. They were $5,000 apart, and Doug shared that, they had not talked to each other. They were relying on local comps. The Conservation District actually had an appraisal done to establish their price. I'm not sure a couple of the local comps were available at the time that appraisal was done, but regardless, they do have an appraisal in hand that defends what they're offering. So it's just kind of wait and see what the next couple months bring.
That also brought up a question to me, what you asked to do I forgot what they called it. You scan the properties and stuff,
Mapping.
the mapping. Obviously, they have a little bit of a fund balance or something that they could come up with that kind of money. Anyway, just a thought.
Who can come up with?
The Conservation Department, if they.
Oh,
if
they
you
have,
kind
they have beneficiary, they have philanthropic donors,
Oh,
they
okay.
have,
That's cool.
they have support, and that's where they can make that offer based on that funding. I don't think that's their, I don't believe that's their millage dollars being
No,
used
they
at
can't be.
all. And so if with this first right of refusal, another offer would come back, John made it clear he would go back to his donors and see if they wanted to rise to that offer or not. But that's where they're prepared to make the purchase at right now.
Thank you.
I would think that the millage dollars are probably used for programming, isn't it?
Village dollars are, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they have some pretty heavy hitters that are willing to support that purchase.
Anything else? Good report. Christie?
So on July 9th, I went to the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency Benzie office visioning session. Katie and our chair were there as well. We talked about that building and what it could be used for. You know, using some of their programs, what some community partners can be, and maybe some other outside the box visioning. So I'd be interested to see how kind of where that goes. The Materials Management Advisory Committee, the local one, was canceled on July 9th. I did do Finance Committee accounts payable on July 11th. The Regional Materials Management Committee was canceled as well. I did go to the Frankfurt regular council meeting. They are working with other municipalities, and I believe it was Benzonia Township who kind of started this off. They're going in together to try to remove some of the delinquent taxes from their rolls, and apparently they have to have an attorney. And so, yeah, they have to spend money to remove delinquent taxes. There will be some open council seats for Frankfurt. Frankfurt is moving to the cloud BSNA October 27th. They talked about they're experiencing erosion at the 7th Street Beach or Bellows Park area, and they're working to get in touch with the drain commissioner. The drain commissioner has come up in all 3 of my municipality meetings, as it did today. Let's see. Okay, I think that's all for that. At the Crystal Lake Township, they talked about the airport. The airports themselves signed an acknowledgement of the MOU that we all agreed upon. So that was nice. Let's see. I don't know, the buildings and ground, they're looking at getting a generator for the township, because apparently that's a hub in a disaster time. And so they're looking to make sure that they continually have, as long as they have gas with the generator, they'll have power. Let's see. Planning and zoning. So the zoning administrator talked about how Lake Township, basically all the townships and municipalities around Crystal Lake are all going through zoning process, and he would like to see some sort of standardization or some sort of coming together. He lamented again about how the Benzie County zoning is no longer, because again, he was talking about how, you know, some of the standardization, you know, we have one lake, and then why would we have different ordinances around the lake? Be nice to have one clear understanding around the lake. Yes, so they talked about that. The EDC was canceled on the 18th. And then, of course, July 19th with the chair, I went to the Crystal Lake Watershed Association annual meeting. They spoke quite a bit about zoning, land use, education, and water quality. And they work closely with the conservation district, and yeah, they even have a lake biologist who does a lot of the looking at Crystal Lake and collecting a lot of data and is showing trends over time, which was really cool to me. But anyway, that's where I am. Any questions for me?
Just one quick one.
Yeah.
When you were talking about delinquent taxes,
Yes,
they were talking personal property taxes, I believe.
yes, I believe so
Which
too.
which is a little different than delinquent property. They haven't been able to collect a lot of the personal property taxes because that you brought it up, the townships mentioned that the other day too, so.
Yeah, Karen at Benzonia Township said that about every 5 years or so, she, and I think she heads this up.
Yes.
It's a class action because it takes a ruling from a judge to clean up, to remove
up.
these and to clean it up. And it's more cost effective to have a group of municipalities going together to get it done in one fell swoop than to go in individually.
It's convoluted, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Christie? I'll touch on a couple of things that have already been talked about, but at the Crystal Lake Watershed Association, Sue Brown approached me after that. She's the president, and said she'd be willing to come in and do a presentation to this group if we like. So I'll leave that up to this group to decide whether you want a presentation from them or not. Nod of heads.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll arrange that. Regarding the Community Action Agency, the only thing I want to add, and as we looked at that building at the corner of Indian Hill and 31, and what its purposes would be, is that there's more space there than what they need for classrooms. And could that be some type of community center also? So that'll continue to be explored, but they're looking at it. Pardon me?
Which building?
It's the old Shirley's Salon, her salon. They acquired that. They now have possession of it at the end of this month. Shirley be moving out of there. And so they're looking at it from the needs of the full community, as well as a strong possibility of doing a satellite office out of there for the Action Agency, which I think you've heard me talk about before. 2 different activities, Head Start, classrooms, and then a satellite office for the Action Agency that provides a lot of other services that go beyond Head Start. So we'll see where that goes. At the Northern Michigan Counties Association, for those of you that are familiar with it, I know Gary is, I believe. For years and years and years, MSU Extension has been the facilitator for that group. That's a 32 county organization for Northern Michigan. MSU is stepping away from that, and MAC is going to fill that role. So MAC is going to fill the role of the facilitator going forward. Early this morning, I sent out an email that made you folks aware that there's 3 grants that we're getting from the 2% fund
Thank you.
from the tribe. I have asked Bob to represent us, one of those, and if I'm getting ahead of you, I apologize.
I know you took my thunder.
Let me end it this way, and Katie can describe in more detail. But I sent that out to you in the event that you can schedule time to attend that.
Yep.
I have asked Bob already to represent the county regarding the honor flight. The reason why I'm bringing it up now is because I'm asking you to do that. That would be an allowable expense should you choose to go. It'll, per diem and mileage would be paid. And I'll let you fill in the blanks. How's that, Katie?
Okay.
I want to talk a moment about the drain commissioner. Last month, we had a discussion and Katie was directed to give us an attorney opinion on what and if how we can influence the drain commissioner role. What we did learn was that this body has the authority to call the drain commissioner in or any elected official in that similar capacity to give us a report on their obligations and their activity. Failure to do that has severe consequences. I have heard more than one time now, and again, today again, that our drain commissioner is not being responsive to the public. And we've had to give them Craig Dixon's number, who actually works for the drain commissioner, and he's very responsive about it. So my question to this group today is, do we want to summon the drain commissioner to come in, explain their duties to us, and help us understand why they're not responding to the community?
I'm in favor of giving it a try, yes. 'Cause
Yes.
I hear it every time we come anymore.
So what I'm seeing is a nod of heads, yes. And we're going to arrange in the next 30 days for that to happen. The community has a right. Some of these things are causing problems, as you already heard from an earlier public comment. And that's not the first time I've heard. So failure to be responsive to these things potentially could cause property damage. So I believe I'm with you. I think we need to intervene on this.
You're gonna call a special meeting for that?
I was not,
Okay,
but if it requires it, we could.
I just asking.
I'm not suggesting we take any action. I'm asking, explain your duties and explain to us why the public is not able to get a hold of you. Or if they're getting a hold of you, why aren't you responding? And we'll clean that request up a little bit. Okay. So Katie, you and I can talk about it with Rhonda and we'll get that on the agenda. And I think I'll leave my comments there. If you have any questions. Katie, your report, please.
I did have one quick one.
No,
So
I'm
will
already-
Head Start, this too late? Okay. Will Head Start this fall? the-
Early Head
okay.
Start will be available starting this fall. The other Head Start program will not until next school year.
Thank you.
And they're gonna come in, Gary, I'm glad you asked the question. The executive director who probably will be here in the next 60 days to give us a full report on this. Katie?
Few things for me. All of you should have received a calendar invite to meet with Amy Airforth and the school members on August 14th at 10 a.m. What I need from you today is, are there any special requests as far as what you want to see or talk about related to Benzie Central Schools? Amy and I are going to meet tomorrow to just kind of formulate our thoughts for the August 14th meeting. I know a couple of you now can't be
Yeah, I
there.
responded on the doodle poll that I could attend, and that was when Central Wellness was talking about canceling or having the board retreat. That is our board retreat for Central Wellness. I see you.
Need some Zyrtec.
Katie, I was left with the impression that there already was an agenda laid out and part of it was to be able to spotlight the new building.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just am asking you if there's anything else or specific that you want to see or talk about while we are there.
What time was that?
10 a.m. on August 14th. and we'll meet at the school administration building there.
If we're opening it up, how about if we,
Amy's opening it up. She wants
let's
to hear
talk
from you.
about the curriculum.
Okay. Anything else?
Gonna meet at the. Like to go, so I gotta.
We're on TV, buddy.
You said at the admin building?
Yeah, so, well, where her office is, and then we'll drive and or walk over to the elementary school for you to see that.
If you don't know, it's the building that sits out in front of the campus.
Yeah.
Anything else outside of the curriculum and just a general tour of the schools and the facilities? Okay, I'll get with Amy. I'm meeting with Amy tomorrow, so. We already talked about the health benefits, so that's great news. I just want to remind the community that we do have various committee appointment opportunities as well as employment opportunities with Benzie County. We are seeking volunteers for the EDC, the Benzie Transportation Authority, the Benzie Leelanau Health Department Board of Appeals, the Maples, as well as the Veterans Affairs. So if anyone wants to serve on any of those committees, please turn in your applications. And then we also have various employment opportunities. One I'll highlight specifically is for the Equalization Department, Equalization Technician. We've been recruiting for that one for a bit of time now. So if you want to be part of the process of your property and establishing all the things, apply. I will be presenting to Frankfurt Rotary tomorrow. They have a noon Rotary. So if there's anything you wanted me to highlight, basically what I do is I go through like an annual report. I've done it for 3 years now. And so I've just updated my annual report as to current projects, successes, as well as looking forward. So I will be out tomorrow attending that in Frankfurt for about an hour and a half at the most.
Katie, what time is that at?
It's the noon Rotary.
Noon.
It's at the little hotel there,
And it
Frankfurt
was
Hotel.
my objective just to be there as support for you.
Okay, bring your happy dollars.
I won't do anything that'll cause me to pay, but
You have to bring your happy dollars. Great. So just some HR highlights. We do have one individual out on admin leave. Nobody is out on workman's comp. We have many interviews happening, job offerings, like I said. We also have one person out on leave because she has a brand new sweet little baby. So we're really excited for her. And then the 2% grants. So we did receive on behalf of 2 organizations plus ourselves 3 2% grants from the tribe. One is for our maintenance department. This is to support the purchase of some sort of tractor or small equipment to help with campus safety and maintenance. So that's very exciting, as well as we received funding on behalf of Bacon for their programming, as well as the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight Program. So the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight Program, they will be receiving $30,000 to support the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight Program. So that's very exciting. And then Bacon will be receiving $15,000 and then $10,000 to the county. I will accompany Bob on Monday, and Kyle Mauer will also be going. He'd like to receive for his department. So we'll be there on Monday at the resort. Very exciting news, lots of money coming to Benzie County. So we're really excited about that.
before you leave that, Gary, I had called you and asked if you could participate. Bob in the past, and I think rightfully so, has said we need a bigger presence there. Are you going to be able to go?
Depends on what time. You said the 28th, is it?
So it's Monday and it's at
3 p.m.
3
3 to
p.m.
5.
3 to 5 on the 17th floor and the elevator's broke.
I know where it's at.
In the elevator.
The elevator's broke.
Just
Gee,
kidding.
I'm
See,
not
gotta
going.
rise on you.
Is there any, and I've sent you the link to be able to sign up. Is there
Okay.
anybody else that thinks they may be able to?
I can
Join?
go.
I can go.
Okay,
Okay.
so if you would, today or tomorrow,
3, 4.
open that email that came out to you early this morning. There's a link on there or a phone number. You can do either one. And make sure you get that reservation in. I generally would ask admin to do it, but she's got a lot on her plate right now. So I'm asking you to put in your own.
Well, do you want that many? Is that too many?
No. That's great.
A lot of times they'll ask for somebody. A few times I've been there. Crickets, nobody's there.
Mm-hmm,
It's pretty impressive just to go.
mm-hmm.
Well, I know that during Bob's chairmanship, he had said a number of times, we need to show our gratitude.
Absolutely.
I agree with him. I may not be able to, but there's some physical reasons why I can't. Cause I gotta
Cause
walk
the
up.
elevators.
Yeah, I think we can get Mr. Davis to carry you.
Oh, well, that-
Knock out some buddy carries.
bring in a stretcher, yeah, right.
I was joking.
Thank you for stepping up on that. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
But that's all I have. We're just plugging along in the office, cleaning up processes and procedures and just clean up in general and just kind of getting things all brought around the table. So if there's anything you need from me, call my cell phone. I have 3 desk lines forwarding to 1 right now, so I call my cell phone, not the desk lines. Don't email me. You won't get a response for probably 3 weeks. So sorry, it's just the reality at this point. But we got this.
Got one.
Nope. No request.
Okay, forget it.
Just kidding.
Anyway, the MAC conference is coming up again in
Yes.
Traverse County and
Who wants to
I
go?
think
It just opened.
yeah, I'm signed up already.
Rhonda, you're gonna go again?
But they,
No, unless other people, because I went to the last one, didn't I?
Well, it's
So-
local though, so this is the
Put it
time for
right.
all of us to go because there's no hotel stays or anything like that.
Okay.
So I would encourage if everyone wanted to go, it's at the
dates are
resort.
they?
I'm pulling it up right now. It's the ones that are like all the way in Kalamazoo or Detroit where I'm like, well, maybe all of us shouldn't go.
September 30th, October 1st and October 2nd.
Yes, September 30th through October 2nd.
And I do AP approvals that Thursday morning.
That's okay. But it's fine. We'll make it work.
Hopefully she'll have some office folks.
Or I'll just do them from the resort.
You want to email if you want to go or not? That way you don't have to remember.
I'm just writing it down. Who wants to go?
I'll go.
I'll go.
Tim.
I'll get
Rhonda,
back to you.
Dave. Gary, I'm assuming they'll sign you up
I'm
through
already
work comp.
signed up.
Okay. Anyone else at this
I don't
point?
think taxpayers would mind if you booked me a suite while we were there, didn't you?
Yeah, you want the presidential suite, right?
If you would, yeah.
Christie, do you need to decide yet?
I would really like to, and I will endeavor to do so.
Okay, Bob, you'll get back to me.
I'll get back to you.
Okay. All right. And then Art, you're gonna get back to me.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Awesome.
Anything else, Katie?
I want to have a great showing like we did last year. So I'm really excited you all want to go. We'll also have the MERS delegate stuff coming to you in the near future. That is kind of the same timing as the MAC conference, also at the resort. And so we do need an officer delegate yet. We have an employee delegate who's raised their hand. An officer delegate is one of you, or it's another elected official or myself. So it's up to you. Kelly Long went last year. I went the year before, so be thinking about that as well as far as an employer delegate to MERS, which is also at the resort in that same timing.
Right before, right after.
I think it's right
what is
after.
it?
I think it's the Sunday, Monday, right after.
Can't get anybody here.
You just like the resort. So
I
that'll
can
be,
probably
it'll be
go,
in
if Gary
August.
can't go.
Okay, it'll be on your August 12th agenda for approval. So I just want you to be tossing it around in your head if you wanted to go or not.
Okay. Doesn't matter how many people are there.
So for
One.
MERS, it's one employer delegate, one employee delegate. We do appoint alternates, but we only have one employee who's stepped forward. So we may not have an alternate on that one, which is fine, but usually we just send one of each.
Okay. Couple follow-ups.
Yes.
When we were speaking about the opioid settlement earlier,
Mm-hmm.
didn't we agree that at one point that the recipients of those funds would report back to us how those funds were used, what the success of the program is?
Yep. I actually have a meeting with Sarah May Thursday morning to talk about what her report's going to look like on August 12th. So she'll be coming here on August 12th. Specifically. And then I know it's on the radar of Central Wellness for theirs. And then I can touch base with Sean about coming in from a DOC standpoint as well.
And are you aware that we can use 15% of those funds for administrative purposes?
Yeah, I think it's 12, but yeah.
Okay, I was at a meeting yesterday, they said 15, but regardless, you know that we can do that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. We've tried our best not to, just because if we have the funding to cover our administrative side of things, let's get as much of this money into the county as an impact as possible. So I haven't even went down the route of recommending utilizing those dollars for other things, because we're not in a position where we need to utilize those dollars for things that are outside of their general intended purposes.
Okay, very good. Anything else for Katie? If not, you had correspondence?
I forgot one item you wanted me
No,
to
we
note
are
on.
done.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Katie.
I just wanted to note that the lawsuit that Benzie County was served with regarding the Henry family was dismissed, according to our attorney Greg Grant. Hasn't sent me any official opinions or anything, so I haven't distributed anything to you from that standpoint. I was just given word that it has been dismissed as of what I was made aware of last week. So just wanted to let you know that there may not be much more on that one going forward.
Can that be appealed, however?
I don't know the court process well, but I assume so.
Yeah, okay.
I think everything can be appealed until it gets.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Tammy's the best one to answer those questions.
That can be appealed.
That can be appealed.
Yeah,
I figured any court decision could. So we may
Yeah.
not have heard the last of that.
may not, yeah, but as of now, it's been dismissed.
All right. If there's nothing else, we're at our last public input or comment.
I wrote in a different color as well. I missed it. Okay.
My name is Annie Browning. I live at 30 Grove Place in Frankfurt. I first wanted to talk about Parks and Recreation because it was exciting to me to hear that you all are discussing Parks and Recreation. I was chair of Village of Beulah's Parks and Recreation. I felt like I was completely lost trying to kind of get things in order in Village of Beulah. And it's so glad to hear that you are at least talking about it and looking to have so that people like villages or townships that are doing something don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can kind of go to a central place to look for guidance on how to set up things like protocols and standards. Then I wanted to talk about, because also related to a lot of what you all talked about today, is zoning. I got asked to, or I offered to, after being asked to be on the zoning board of appeals for the city of Frankfurt. And I went to my first zoning board of appeals meeting last Wednesday. And that was really interesting. It was for the Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust, for which I own a house on the land trust. And so anyway, I was asked to be recused and I said, no problem. And it was interesting because they did not have an agenda item. I actually thought of that, and they don't have an agenda item for conflict of interest, which I would have surely spoken up on. But anyway, I was recused, and I still was able to share my opinion on the whole situation. And my opinion was that because the appeal or the variances that were being asked for were for the footprint of the building, because there's a 2-story building that's a little small, the footprint is smaller than expected or than required, and also for the garage size, it was 2 feet difference. I think it was 2 feet smaller. So anyway, the variance was granted, and my reasoning for doing it was that there are always positives and negatives. There are a lot of people speaking out at the ZBA meetings saying that they don't like it for this or that reason. And there are always positives and negatives. And I feel like in that case, the positives outweigh the negatives, because my reasoning was because living in the Village of Beulah, not having affordable housing or anything like that, it really, really brought the entire village down. So anyway, that was really interesting. I'm glad that you all are talking about things like zoning and planning. Also, though related to that is, it was mentioned earlier, I can't remember her name. The Crystal Lake Water, might have been John that mentioned it, the Crystal Lake Watershed Association and the variance in local ordinances for municipalities around the lake. They're all different. And there's some reasoning for that. I mean, like.
Finish your thought.
Oh, I was just gonna say that some of the differences that I was aware of were the things like the setback from the lake is some of the lots on like the North Shore, way on the west side, there's not much room for for buildings and such. And so I think trying to standardize those is really, really difficult just because of the variations in the land. So anyway, that was really interesting. I was glad to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Mhm.
Anybody else from the public?
Can I comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking about our meeting with Matt Nordford with the OMA FOIA, and we talked about conflict of interest. And if you weren't invested monetarily, you satisfy the conflict of interest by disclosing your conflict, but are still required to vote. So it just made me think about that when Annie was talking about her situation as, owning a land trust home. The fact that she disclosed that made me wonder if she should have been able to vote anyway. So that's just my comment on Annie's comment.
Any other comments? All right, we'll move for adjournment.
Oh.
Oh,
That would be an open meeting. Here's the question. Okay. If there's nothing else,
motion to adjourn.
Second.
we stand adjourned.